world-breaking community in that particular discipline. The first Kenyans who actually started doing amazing things in the marathon actually had trained in Japan. Please.
Why is that the flip side with private institutions, though? Because at private institutions, you have a wealth of information about other institutions around the world who are entering into partnerships, who are offering scholarships for study and things like that. Why is it then that in the public sector, the flow of information is not smooth, is not loud, is not vibrant?
I don't get it. What is
The same thing I'm saying now. So there are partnerships that take place with other organizations that the Ministry of Education might have information on, right? Why is it that information doesn't come out? Why is it that, the Eastern Europe bloc, which has huge scholarships that they give out, why is that not made public? Why don't people know about this, and why are people not able to access
Even
it?
the Asian Tigers have actually many countries around the world have scholarships.
Yep.
And they're offered to, let's talk about Kenya. But you don't get to hear of it. And those who know about it keep mum about it. Or they keep it among a select group of people who then know and benefit from it. Now, the ease with which these things are available has to do with the knowledge that will be provided for you so that you actually understand what to do. If you don't, as far as you're concerned, it doesn't exist. But let's not take it far. Let's look at the programs that the government has started. 2 places. 1, remember the programs that the government began for the youth some years ago. We actually created a youth ministry, and there were also programs under that particular ministry. We knew the programs existed, but the details of those programs was never really broadcast over a period of time for us to understand just how many there were and what they did. We then had the CAS for agriculture. For me, it was not eye-opening. It was mind-boggling when I heard of the many, many things that the government has started and has begun. They exist. But does one hear of them every day? No. Are there things you hear about in, say, the national radio stations? No. Are there things you hear about in any means where you can... The answer is no. Why? And they're actually meant to benefit the ordinary citizen. Why?
These are things that, if, for instance, the government just decided in 1 year we are going to make sure that as many people know about this as possible. So if it's about agriculture and the youth, we have very many forums where this is being talked about, where it's being explained. And in this country, when it comes to digital, we are right up there.
We're definitely right up there.
So putting out this information on digital platforms and sharing it out on digital platforms in various ways, even in bite-size bites of information that we do that on social media, it's very, very possible to do it, right? So you'd know that if I am thinking to go into agribusiness is not necessarily taking a djembe and going to farm. I can participate in the entire value chain if I can find where to plug. And these are the opportunities. And if I'm looking for skill, if I'm looking to improve my skill, if I'm looking to get financing for it, I can get it here and there. And this would actually keep very many people busy. When we're talking about, and we had this conversation at some point, and it was a heated discussion about this thing that the youth are doing, which is online writing and offering support to university students abroad.
Doing the
Let's
assignments
call
for
that
them.
offering support, right?
Okay.
And it's being done locally, and those countries are now starting to cut corners and trying to seal those loopholes. But this is something that people here are able to do
with ease.
Now imagine if you actually were able to create an industry around it, or if you're able to create very many other industries. So the government has done a bit of it, but to what extent? So the point here I'm trying to make is we have the capacity in terms of know-how, technical know-how. We have a very ready audience that is willing to take up this information and take up the opportunity. Just tell someone, try this thing out, you will see that it works. People will get into it and they will try. Tell the people, you can apply for this scholarship. You go in there, you study, you can actually even start working in Japan. People will be like, huh? What do I need? Okay, I already qualify. So what else do I need to do? Apply. I will apply. Once I get there, what do I need to do to qualify to work in that country? This is it. one of the biggest things, the biggest foreign exchange earner for this country is our human resource.
Actually, remember it used to be number 3, 2. The time it's even been number 1.
Yep. It's our human resource.
Remittances.
How can we take advantage of such things? It's such opportunities. Come and study and work in Japan, in Canada, in East Asia, in Eastern Europe, in Australia. All these places.
You know, Eric, many developing countries have what you call a declining population.
Yep.
There are more older people than there are younger. So as the older people retire, there are gaps which their own nationals cannot actually fill.
Yep.
Now, imagine a situation where that is clearly understood. It's an offer.
Yeah.
Come, study, work. We had it very, very clearly.
Yep.
If that is made available, knowing Kenyans as they are, how many do you think would apply for those positions?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you would have a flood of applications.
Precisely.
That's for
But
sure.
if you don't know, you will not apply.
Yep.
Now, take another instance. Huh? When you look at the opportunities that are often available even at our own universities, look at what the ordinary parent does to ensure that their child actually gets that education. And then look at the number of people who have gone through our university system and do not have jobs. They don't. Even if they want to work, it just isn't there. You see, opportunity doesn't mean that the country itself must be the ones providing the opportunity in terms of them employing you. No, they can open doors for you to actually get that employment. Now, it doesn't have to be adverse circumstances where people are running away from the country. No. It can just be a normal flow. We've had cases where health workers are invited to go to the US and to the UK. It's open, come. And now that the UK are out of the EU, an opportunity of that nature has arisen with even more advantages.
You know, you could actually look at it this way, because if you look at just an example of what Japan is doing, essentially what they're doing is exporting their education, which countries like Hungary and others have done before and still continue to do quite, with a lot of effort. It could actually be looked at in a reciprocal manner, that you're exporting your education, but what you're doing long term is that countries like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, whatever other countries they go to, are actually exporting their human resource. Because oftentimes what we look at in terms of exports and then what can be traded on the global market is that we look for things like oil, we look at things like, other perishable goods and stuff like that can be sold on an open market and gotten money. You just mentioned that one of the highest foreign exchange earners has been human resource, and that's something that you count when you're looking at the overall picture of the country economically, right? So I think there can be attention that can be given to something like this to say, you know what, one of the biggest things that we actually are doing as a country and that can be counted on our list is exporting human resource. So around the country, you know that you have notable educated Kenyans who've gone through an education system that is sound globally, and that they're actually working in another country and offering their expertise. And guess what? They're sending their remunerations back to the country, and that is actually building the economic profile of Kenya. And I mean, I think such things can be looked at with pinpoint clarity and say, this is actually one of the things that we do. Because if you look at tables, like for countries like Hungary, on the top of the list, where other countries are talking about oil and other things, education is at the very top as what they export. So I think that the move away from the traditional things that we've all always used on a global scale to define what brings in foreign exchange for your country, I think we can actually start to embrace some of these non-conventional items. Education, human resource being some of them.
It is big. And then we talk about every time now we're going into 2022. The one thing that you'll hear, okay, the hustler targeting the youth, then you'll hear that phrase will come. Vijana wetu wapate nafasi za ajira. We do not want to give our youth wheelbarrows, we want to give them better opportunities.
Okay,
so here they are. I'm thinking, look, we have social halls. If you just talk about Nairobi, we have these community centers. We can establish community centers across the country. These community centers can serve as information hubs. So there was a huge project by the government, these ideas by government. When government rolled out a project called NOFB, the National Fiber Optic Infrastructure Project, where they were going to roll out the fiber optic coming all the way from Mombasa, where it's landed, and going across the country, especially to the district headquarters. In those district headquarters, they'd set up these centers. So these centers would be like social halls where the youth can come, where it would be an information hub. Imagine if we actually just followed through with that idea from the very beginning and went ahead and created these centers, where now you're saying, all right, you're the youth, you finished university, you finished high school, you're looking for new opportunities. Where do I want to go and study? Can I study locally? Can I study abroad? Where are the opportunities? You're basically just being given the whole world right there. It is not that you are in this part of the country and you're thinking of opportunities in the nearest town or in Nairobi. You're thinking of opportunities globally. I can study here, I can go to this TVET, and after going to this TVET, then I'd qualify to go and extend my education, or I can then apply here through this government portal, and this government portal is working with the government of the United Kingdom, because the United Kingdom has said, all right, so we're opening up opportunities for plumbers and such people from countries like Kenya to come and work in the UK. Somebody should be able to apply for this from Garissa, from Mandera, from Peketoni, from Loitoktok, from any part of this country. Somebody should be able to know, if I have this kind of skill, or if I can just upgrade my skill in this particular institution, I can get a job in the UK. And the government is facilitating all that. But now, okay, President has gone, President has sat down with the Prime Minister of the UK, President has done his bit, signed the deal. Who is supposed to make sure that this thing happens?
In terms of implementation?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that usually is what we look at now as becomes the roadblock, right? So even when the foundation has been cast, the building blocks in terms of implementation is the problem. And I don't think it's about the doing, the worker bees getting to work. I think it's about also the perceptions that take place in the minds of people. Okay, what does this actually translate to? And it shouldn't just be about filling a requirement. But I think a certain mindset needs to come about, whereby you realize that whatever you're putting out there is not your traditional anymore. It can't just be that, all right, we're working to export flowers to the Netherlands and then get some money back and then it can be counted on Kenya's, foreign exchange. No. And just like you're saying, if across the country you're actually looking at developing, these are some of the things that actually can be done. So I think it's about a mindset change. It really is about mindsets that have to come up, change that needs to come about to say, okay, hold on a minute. There's a deal that has been signed that's going to enable 1, 2, 3 to be done. In terms of implementation, what does this actually mean for the country? What does it actually mean? Taking the meaning of such a thing and then translating it into actually how it can change the lives of people.
And these are simple. They're not even political things.
No, they really are not. And I don't think when these folks go making these trips, sitting down and signing, they're thinking, all right, let's just do this for the sake of doing this. I think they're actually really interested in saying, how then can we increase our partnerships and make things better for the people of the country? But then I think we would be surprised to see the number of things that have been signed, but that the little pegs have not been implemented.
Oh, yes.
To the potential that they should actually have
But
been.
look at how we utilize the monies that are available to our MPs through the CDF, the bursaries. You will be amazed at how many lives that changes.
Yep.
You'll be amazed. People who ordinarily would never have gone to school. If you go a little bit back into history, my area of specialty, history, because I lived in that history.
Right.
And you looked at the successes of government. You know what you call national schools? Believe me, they were national. You would find people from all corners of the country in that school. I remember the joke among some colleagues of mine who would say that when they knew they had qualified for university, they had to ask, how will I know I've arrived in Nairobi?
Yeah.
Okay, there's this bus I have boarded. Okay. How will I actually know that now where I am now is Nairobi? Yes, exactly. So someone had to explain, said, no, don't bother your head. There'll be a conductor. They will tell you. Because if let's say, for instance, you were in a school in South Nyanza, which was South Nyanza then, called Orero Secondary School, right? And you live in that region, and you bought a bus from Homa Bay town, and you want to come to Nairobi. Do you know what's going to happen? You may need to go through, depending on the sort of bus, some of them go to Kisumu first, and then Kericho. I'm just explaining. Then Kericho, then it'll go to Nakuru. Okay? Now, see, there's a lot of confusion just from the time you unless someone tells you, and remember, it's the first time in your life.
Kwa basi.
Wewe kaa tu kwa basi. So if there are certain biological needs that you have,
my friend,
sit on it. So, well, you'll be sitting on it anyway. The point I'm trying to make is this. If you looked at how the government meticulously and very, very professionally ensured that people who ordinarily you would think would not have some of these benefits of education available to them, it became available.
Yep.
Meaning, we're not talking about something that needs to be done. It has been done before and has been done well. And even those who are supposedly disadvantaged by distance and economics have benefited from it. So now, a country like India, do you know that India has they record the largest remittances on the planet from the citizens who work outside. And the remittances constitute 12% of all the remittances that globally people consider. 12%. They have a robust education system. They are not shy to allow their people to go out.
At all, because they realize.
Yes, they have.
Yes, they've realized, and this is what I'm saying. So it's not because the thing it would have been, I look at it and I say, okay, well, it could be that governments could be shy to say then, why are we allowing such partnerships to come out? What essentially we are doing is that we are selling our people out there because we're not able to provide those opportunities.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I'm saying that you have to think about it differently. Like you say, India is not shy about doing this at all. So what does it mean? Look at the footprint of the globe. Indians are everywhere, not selling themselves, but they're out there selling the fact that the education system within the country is so robust that they're then able to offer these skills and services to a myriad of countries around the world.
Yes.
All over.
That's it. So it changes. And what do you have? You have 12% of the global remittances coming from one subcontinent.
One.
That's what you have.
One. You haven't thrown in China,
No.
who also have it is the thought process that goes through the minds of those leaders. And they have a plan and they implement it. And you can see the benefit of that implementation. You find, okay, those are two big countries. Let's go to smaller countries. Mexico has the same advantage. The Philippines has the same advantage. Back home here, Egypt has the same advantage. Sudan has the same advantage. We've come into the game lately and we're not doing badly at it.
We're actually doing very well.
Yes.
But I think some of it is a mix of both accidental and some work being done by government. But somebody was actually having a conversation the other day and saying, look, so when you look at your foreign exchange earners, you're looking at floriculture, flowers. There's a lot of work being done to promote flowers. Tea, there's a lot of work being done to try and structure this business so that it keeps working. Coffee, look at all of them. Horticulture. There is human resource. What exactly is the government doing to promote this as a foreign exchange earner? What exactly is it doing? What is it doing? What's the government doing to go and talk to the Kenyans in the diaspora and make sure that they feel that, yes, I am being recognized and I am a Kenyan export. Therefore, I can participate more when I send more money. What is it that the government has done? When you talk about all these opportunities, and I still think about that because when this announcement was made late last year, it's one of those things that stuck in my mind. Our president went to the UK. They had a conversation. The UK will soon be exiting the EU. There will be now new opportunities that open themselves up for Kenya. Our president was quick because there are some people in the civil service who are quick to see these opportunities. They went. They signed. Just earlier this year, Kenya and the UK signed agreements. Among those is we have all these opportunities just for these basics. People who have the skill of plumbing and such can go and work and live in the UK. It's been made easier. Have you heard the government coming out to say, all right, so this is what we're going to do? We know, for example, that we have an institute here that trains very well, and we can work with that institute and others. Now that we are promoting TVETs, we can work with all the TVETs and identify the best graduates and sponsor them to actually go and take up these opportunities. This will be our first batch of Kenyans who are showing that, yes, indeed, Kenya has this skill.
Eric, when you say
Iko kitu kama hiyo umesikia?
no, I
Because
haven't
that's been
actually.
bugging me. I'm not hearing this thing. Kenya, we have been talking about TVET. Here's
Thank
an
you.
opportunity
We've
to
been
showcase our
talking
TVETs.
about TVETs, but you see, what bothers me, that bothers you, but let me add my own bother, okay? This story of TVETs, what in reality have we actually done to promote these TVETs as we say? Why am I asking this question?
Right.
The German government very generously offered to build us a technical university. Offered. Build technical university. It wasn't yesterday. It wasn't the day before yesterday.
It was years ago.
Yes. It's still talk. You wonder. A country is telling you, you know how we ourselves got here? We made sure we trained people in these fields. Do you know what these sort of universities do? They train the sort of personnel so that when someone wants to industrialize, they come to your country because they know you have trained personnel. They don't have a problem.
Yes.
If they want to set up a plant, if they want to set up a car manufacturing plant, they're not worried. When we were expanding our pipeline, we had to import expert welders. We had to import welders.
That's kind of painful.
Yes.
Because I remember again when we had a conversation with the EU, right? What was one of the things that they told us? That you would be surprised at the emphasis that they place on TVET. And you would find that more and more people were actually going towards a TVET education than an undergraduate education, because what it allowed them to do was to specialize in things like this. And then that the government was so involved, or is so involved in this kind of education, because they then know where these experts are coming from, so that you know that you have experts in building, you know that you have experts, so that when you're going into these government infrastructure projects, you're dipping from a pool of resident expertise.
Who are already here.
And you know for a fact that they're skilled, because the government has put their muscle, whether that be attention and finances, behind these institutions to make sure that they're training the best.
Let's take a break on KTN Home at 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. You can tune in to Spice FM as well, because we're having the conversation there. We're also having the conversation on live stream. Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter. The technical issue has been sorted. So, back shortly, but this conversation continues.
87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
So, like they say, mgala muue lakini haki yake mpe. In terms of trying to shift the attention back to TVET, I think just that fact, shifting the attention to TVET and even creating a state department for that and having a PS sitting in charge of that, that is a move. When the president of Germany came to visit this country, was it last year or was it 2019? Remember, they and our president went to the Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology.
They did.
Yes, they
And
did.
they've signed actually a partnership where the German government is going to help us expand KIST into probably something close to the facility that they would have wanted to do earlier. So at least there's some movement. The thing is, let's see how much movement. When we hosted the German ambassador, so you asked her actually, where else, in what other parts of the country? And she said, let this one be the model. When we see how we are able to work on this, then we are ready to move into other counties, into other regions and say, so we have another one in the western region, we have another one in the coastal region. So the onus then is on the ministry and the State Department that's in charge of this particular project to make sure that KIST gets all the best assistance it can get from Germany. And then at the same time, look at what we are doing in the rollout of the KISTs. Of the TVETs countrywide.
Eric, the Germans were ready to build. When the time they were offering, they were ready. It is us. How do you pussyfoot about something like this? It's been offered. You're not paying. Provide the land, we will come and we will build and give you all the facilities you require for it. We will give it to you. It is, you don't have to pay. And we are still dilly-dallying and pussyfooting. The thing that I consider tragic with this particular government, this one here, okay? It's not a question of prioritizing. No. Anything that has to do with the common good seems to be the hobby. The focus and attention is given to things that will benefit the individuals.
Yep.
Because you ask yourself, why are we always debating about there being money, but there isn't enough money to the judiciary? Why are we always debating? There's a problem with education, promises which were made have not been kept. Why are we always having these debates? Year in, year out, and year in, year out, budgets are made, things are supposed to be done. I'm skeptical, even when you talk about TVET. I'm skeptical. We had a youth ministry. Tell me if we still have. Tell me
Yes.
Tell me if there has been a fundamental and irrevocable change in the lives of the youth in this country as a result of it. The answer is a resounding no.
Institutionalized change.
Yes, but that's the only change that counts. The answer is no. So, and yet, the thing that has occupied the discourse of that ministry is just the billions and billions of shillings that went everywhere.
There's money for this. There's money for training. This and upscaling skills. Capacity building. Blah blah. There's a lot of money.
Youth Enterprise Fund. God knows who fund.
People can come and access.
Okay.
There are a few people, yes, who've accessed. But if you look at the number of years that we've had the Youth Enterprise Fund
and the amount of monies that have been allocated to these things, surely there ought to have been a significant shift in this story about unemployment among the youth.
Yep.
The helpless and hopeless situation we see among the youth. There ought to be a change.
Something sustainable, where right now the youth who are thinking of opportunities would have something sustainable where they can look at and see, this was started and this is where I plug.
Yes.
I can come
Yes.
in and take advantage of this. A project that was started, 17 years ago? We're still talking about Youth Enterprise Fund here. Now move the ministry from a complete ministry by itself, put it under the Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth. Then next time we shall do this and the other.
Move
We
it
have
even
opportunities.
move it even to environment. It's
Or
not
to the National Treasury.
treasury. It does, where the real money comes from.
Yes.
You see, my skepticism is based on what I see.
Yeah, indeed. When you look, what you see, and then what you hear. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's now coming up to 8 o'clock. In the next hour, let's talk about the youth again in terms of education and what is happening to our education system. So the NEC conducted some assessment and the results are out. And to some people, they're shocking. To other people, they're not shocking, but there's concern all around. Exams are coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Are the learners ready to sit a national exam in March? Good morning. It's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, is it looking better on Thika Road? Well, not great. Kiambu Road is joining, and with all the vehicles on Kiambu Road this morning and everybody trying to get through, this is what we see every morning. Hopefully, we can come out of this without too much. Kiambu Road, 6 lanes. Yes, that's what it looks at. 6 lanes where it's all originally supposed to be 2. Outer Ring, what is that? We're not quite sure what's going on at Outer Ring today, but it is jam-packed. The Eastern Bypass, there's some a hold-up of traffic around the AP training center this morning, and it's moving very slowly then as trying to approach Thika Road from the Eastern Bypass, but that's moving without too much of an issue. Mombasa Road Mombasa Road is that road today, very slow all the way from Syokimau through to Nyeri Stadium and then out onto Hulu Highway through into the CBD out towards Westlands. Very, very slow. Typical weekday is what we're looking at now. They told us though that by December the expressway will be done, so perhaps this traffic headache, you only have about 11 more months to go. Spice of MKE. Talk to us on Twitter. Text us 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
All right,
Situation.
it's 2.5 minutes after 8, and thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room. This and every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We're live on Spice FM 94.4 Nairobi, 97.7 Malindi, 87.9 in Mombasa, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, and 96.7 in Eldoret, as well as 90.9 in Nyeri. We are now live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And we can see that people are tuned in and they've already said, yes, we are online. We are also live on KTN Home until the top of this hour. So, CT, as we begin this hour, let's hear today's proverb.
Right. When the music changes, so does the dance.
Okay. When the music changes, so does the dance. Okay. Ndu, change the music.
Well, it would appear that the music changed last year, but the dance didn't quite such. COVID came in and messed up quite a number of things in the country. One of those things was the education system in the country. Children stopped going to school for 9 months. Went back to school this year, January. Took an assessment test, a nationwide assessment test when they all went back to school. And unfortunately, they didn't do so well as was envisioned. And it is said now that there is alarm. A standard 8 candidates failed the school-based exams. Initially said, I don't know why there should be alarm at this. You had a break in transmission as concerns education for 9 months. We must understand also that there are children who are children whose minds are supple and going through new things and new kinds of learning. You put a break in it for the length of time that we had, 9 to 10 months of not being in school. And only some being in school, and this was the online learning, which again was still a new concept, you will definitely see a dip in terms of performance. And this is what we have seen now. I think what is alarming people and what is alarming even the Ministry of Education as well as the National Examinations Council is that we have a national exam coming up in less than 48 days. And from all indications is that students are really not ready to be able to take this because of the assessment grades that we've seen. When you see 50% of those who sat these assessments scoring below 50% of the marks, then it's an eyebrow-raising kind of thing because you're asking yourself, then are we going to be able to prepare them for an exam that's coming up in March? Are they going to be able to sit this KCPE and do well at it, right? So there are very many subjects where the major, or rather 50% of those who took the exam scored below 50. And in this case, we're looking at a fail mark, right? 50% and above is the minimum that you can use to pass. Now, we had people scoring under 50%, so they failed.
Actually, the Star presented a very interesting breakdown of these. And this is how they categorized them. They looked at the subjects: exceeding expectation, meeting expectation, approaching expectation, and below expectation.
Okay.
In the subject of mathematics, exceeding expectation in percentages, boys 0, girls 0.
Okay.
Meeting expectations, boys 10%, girls 11%. Approaching expectation, boys 33%, girls 37%. Below expectation, boys 57%, girls 52%.
Wow.
That is mathematics. English, exceeding expectations, boys 11%, girls 13%. Meeting expectations, boys 23%, girls 27%. Approaching expectation, boys 37%, girls 39%. Below expectations, boys 43%, girls 21%. Kiswahili, exceeding expectations, boys 11%, girls 13%. Same as English. Meeting expectations, boys 25%, girls 28%. Approaching expectations, 34% for boys and 39% girls. Below expectations, boys 30%, girls 20%. Science and environment, exceeding expectations, boys 10%, girls 12%. Meeting expectations, boys 18%, girls 20%. Approaching expectation, boys 23%, girls 28%. Below expectations, boys 49%, girls 40%. The problem and the furor arose with respect directly at the subject of the English language, which is the medium of instruction in literally everything except Kiswahili.
Except Kiswahili and French.
Yes.
Which is now taught in most schools as languages,
Yes.
right? That was the problem. And now the thing is, again, now the shock also comes because it is connected to this exam that's happening in March. And they're saying, okay, fine. If there was an exam that was taking place a few months down the line, then perhaps it would give more time to bridge this knowledge there was a gap over because of the COVID-19 break. But you have an exam taking place, which would essentially take them to the next level in education. And this is how they are scoring on an assessment, which didn't really add or take anything away from your score. Everybody wanted to find out where everybody was after this long break, and that's why this exam was done. Now, from all indications, for standard 8 pupils are not ready for this national exam, which is going to take place
Next month.
It's going to take place in a matter of
When was the
weeks.
assessment done?
The assessment was done a week after
They reopened.
reopening of
So this was
schools.
in September. But there's enough time. There's been enough time to bring them back up to speed.
Actually, no. If you consider that they were away for 8 months, right? A term is 3 months. Okay? You're away for 2 terms and 2 months. Okay? My friend, if you haven't been studying, you're talking about a year's curriculum. And you're saying that you want to bridge this September, October, November. You want to bridge all this in 1 term and a half. And yet, the new term also has expectations of its own that you ought to meet. So, it gets genuinely tricky.
I'm saying there shouldn't be alarm. I'm saying this is what should have been expected. This is what you should expect to have happened when you have a break in education for the length of time that we did. 9 months is not a joke when it comes to learning. Do you know, I mean, I look at my child who went back to school in January, and, you know, the thing at a 4-year-old, the things that he's been able to cover in a month is a lot. And you think, okay, wait a minute, he's able to do things that he was not doing a month ago. Now you have 9 months of learning that did not take place. What do you expect to happen when you come and take an assessment exam? You expect the scores to be lower.
Yes, indeed.
There shouldn't be alarm here. What there should be was saying, okay, hold on, this is where we are. This is now what we need to do in order to bridge. Should it have been that attention should have been given to these areas where there was a problem? Should it be now that you see where we are? Should the kind of teaching change? Should the focus then move towards other areas to make sure that they're able to then grasp what they need for this upcoming exam? Because the date of the exam is not going to change. That one we know. In terms of things being cast in stone, it's cast in stone.
May I suggest an alternate perspective? You see, remember the midst of the pandemic and the education wars that also came with it, there was this discussion about how prepared was the ministry in ensuring learning could take place.
It wasn't.
Precisely. And even 9 months, in those 9 months, what did they do to bridge this gap that clearly existed because of their lack of preparedness? Again, you will have a response which isn't very pleasant. Now, what is it that the government has done since to ensure, because the pandemic is not really going anywhere, because other countries have had to shut down the education system because of spikes in the pandemic. If we were to receive or to envision another spike and we're shut down, what are we prepared to do? Okay? I am arguing that these are the things that I would concern myself with to ensure that even if we have a prolonged situation like the one we have, or it gets to be a little more adverse, we are prepared so that the learning disruption is at a minimum. Right now, if we go by what we've had before, if we were to shut down, status quo will be maintained.
We'll go back there.
Yes.
Even what they
not
learned
worse.
since, actually, I think they reopened in November, was it?
October 12th.
October 12th,
Yeah.
right? So even if we look at what then has happened between October 12th and now, if we were to shut down again for a prolonged period of time, this would be eroded as well.
If not
Let's speak
worse.
to a teacher anyway who would also give us some insights into this. Mwalimu Godfrey Kamau is one of our very good listeners and participants in the show. Mwalimu, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's been a while. We haven't heard from you, but also we understand schools reopened, so you're busy.
In fact, very busy. I just want to greet you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes, a New Year, innit? And you are doing well. You are back in work and you are working.
Very good.
Yes.
So you saw you've seen the results that came out after this assessment that was conducted, and especially focusing on the candidate years now, the grade 4, but standard 8 and the form 4. Let's talk about the standard 8 and what these results are indicative of. Do you think these students, first of all, are you shocked by the results?
As a teacher, let me say I was not shocked. This is a thing that happens, especially when children close the school, and we have been doing an open exam. When we close school in a month times, we usually do an exam when we open school, and the children still fail, and it's a month, yeah.
Okay.
And the class 8, by the time they were doing the exam, they did in October, and we had went home for COVID back in March. So I expected they will not do better, and in consideration with how the paper was, how the paper was being set, children the setting was different with the other papers they are used. For example, children in primary school do choice taking A, B, C, D.
Yes.
And in this exam, it was divided in two parts. There was a part that they were not required to do A, B, C, D, just to write an answer, like the high school children, the way they do.
Okay.
So this was new to our children, and so we as teachers expected such a result.
So there was definitely going to be something like this that comes out, especially now if you're talking about you already are preparing your mind for a KCPE exam that comes in multiple choice, and here's an assessment that has half multiple choice and others where you write down your answer. Sort of obviously throws you off.
Yes, this was in the way we teach children in primary school. We teach them even on how to make a good choice. You remember even you when you were in school. I don't know the time you were in school, but you remember your teachers used to teach you on how to make a good choice.
Yes.
Maybe you can use the choices to make an answer.
To eliminate, yes.
Elimination without necessarily knowing the answer.
Yep.
Of the question.
Yep.
But you get the answer correct. We focus on teaching that, especially now when they are about now to do the KCPE, But when they bring a question that needs to write down the answer, the child is confused on what to do. So it was not the way we as teachers would expect them to. They would just let them set the exam the way they come in KCPE, let them divert from what we do.
So
the children were shocked, out of shock, and they have been at home all those months. Then the meeting expectation was not anywhere. In fact, the maybe approaching expectation and below expectation. That's what we registered.
So now going into Mwalimu, going into these exams coming up in March, what would you say is the stance for teachers? What position are teachers taking now to say, we're not surprised by the results that we have seen, but we want them to do well in the exams, of course. So is there a change in a different kind of approach towards teaching? Is there a different kind of approach then for what they would be able to grasp and really understand by the time the exam comes about?
In fact, what we do when your children fail in an exam, you try your level best to make them forget they have failed. Because if you keep reminding them of that exam, then the children will get in fear. They will fear the exam. They will start thinking, I'm going to fail. So what we are doing, it is just to make them forget about that exam. Yeah. That was an exam that was testing you on what you are doing when you are at home. But now that you have been here with us, let us focus on what we have been doing here. So we are trying our best to increase even time. We had no time even to finish the syllabus. We have been trying our best to increase time in contact with children. We have been doing a lot, trying to do revision here and there. Even remedial classes, all these we are doing here in the ground. We are trying our best to recover the time that we lost there. And let me promise you that children are not badly off as we speak. And we are expecting that they will do very well. Very well. In fact, very well. They are going to do very well. And we are not supposed to compare the marks for the assessment and this for KCPE because they are not altogether. They are not supposed to be compared.
Mwalimu, would you say that the assessment that you had and the results that came perhaps pointed you to things that you could do better, areas that perhaps a little more effort could be put into, maybe shining a light into areas that previously one didn't fully understand, meaning it then prepared you to focus your teaching so that you could actually prepare the students for the examinations better?
In fact, what I can tell you, even when we are doing our revision,
yes,
we are not mainly using the assessment papers to do the revision. Because the way those papers were, or the way they were set, cannot help you to get good marks in KCP. There is that setting for KCP that is standard, that comes, for example, you take KCP papers, revise using them, and other methods which are more done nowadays. You don't use the assessment. The assessment will not give you the best revision. But when we use our own way, the way we used to do our own things, the way we do at a school, we are hoping that our children are going to catch up. So we are doing, in fact, the exam is not in the teacher's mind as right now. That exam went away. Those are things that are being brought right now to, I don't know for what, but I saw hours were sent in our school, but we even didn't focus on it. I don't even a meeting where we sat down and thought of the exam. Because in the minds of the teachers, even now, the class 7 and the other classes which are back to school right now, they have already done it last week. And this exam is not for us as teachers. It is for the parents maybe to see what their children are doing at home, not for us. You know, we don't care about it too much.
Okay, so but there is an exam that's coming up. It's very important in terms of Class 8 specifically, moving to Form 1, right? It is important. Yes. And I think that is where the alarm for those who are alarmed is coming from. And they're saying, okay, if this is what the assessment looks like, what is going to happen with KCP? Because the truth is, you fail KCPE, you will not go to Form 1, right?
There's 100% transition now.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a bad score on an exam,
it affects the school. It
affects the school that you go to, right? True. So, where does this all come in terms of the skew that teaching would take moving forward? I mean, yes, you said you've forgotten about the assessment. Now we are moving forward, but people are quite concerned then about what would happen with this KCPE exam that's coming up in a few weeks. Is there cause for concern, or should we say, look, we've gotten over that rough patch and we are back in the saddle again and we're able to move forward?
You know, what I'm thinking is, it is quite unfortunate that the KCP that you'll be doing, it was long ago set. It has not been set during this time or it has been set in February or January. No, it was set some
time back. Yes,
some time back. So whatever is in the exam for KCP, we expect is whatever the children have been learning in lower classes, not necessarily class 8. The other classes, maybe 7, going down there. So if the children were well taught, they just need to be reminded on what they were taught. Okay. You know, this is revision. Just remind them, then the children will catch up. So we are not worried that much. Yes, there are issues here and there of maybe how the situation is in our country in terms of economy and all those things. Those are the things which are affecting the children, even not the assessment. Because you see the children the way they were the last time before before COVID came. The children were better then. But right now, as we speak, there are a lot of things which have changed in their way of doing things, their discipline, all those things. Those are the issues which are affecting the results, not even the assessment itself. So we are concerned with their welfare and what will happen after. Of course, they will go to high school, because I think even if they fail, they're going into good high school. It will depend with the overall result.
Right.
Because if for example, the 400 marks go down, that means the national school will also go down in picking the results. So generally, it will be the same.
It will impact everyone.
Yes, it will impact everyone. The good boys, and those who perform well, and those who are down here. But before we even stop, we have done an assessment this term.
Yeah.
And it was also the same as that for the grade 4 and class 8 last term. And they have terribly failed. I know you'll be waiting for the analysis later, which will be released by the NEC. But we have already marked our exams. They have done very badly.
And this is the one that was done this year?
Yes, this year. The for grade 7, 6, 4, 5, and the other classes which did not report last year.
Okay.
They're the ones which are reported this year. They have already done also another exam, and it will be the same as that of grade 4 and grade 8. They will not be different. The way they failed is the way they have failed. So that effect of staying at home.
So this is not surprising at all. Let's talk about your own students, Mwalimu. You're preparing students to sit an exam in about a month's time. How are they? Are they scared? Are they concerned? Are they well prepared for this? Are they gearing to sit the exam? Or do you feel that they are psychologically now, not in terms of the work that you've put in, but psychologically, how are the students as they go towards this exam?
You know, Minister, the way what happens is the children, all our boys or students, they will focus on what you as teacher you are driving them towards.
All right.
If you as a teacher, you know what you're supposed to do, then the children will follow what you are doing. So the effect might be to teachers even than to children. If we as teachers are showing them the need and the urgency of being serious, then the children become serious.
Okay.
But if we as teachers relax, they will also relax. But what I'm sure is we as teachers down here, especially in my school here, we are doing our level best, trying to talk to them, counseling and all those things. You know, all these children went through a lot when they were at home. We have girls who have children, have a case in school, and discipline my child. You know, those things you must sit down with these students. Some were transferred from one place to another. So we are also hearing there are some, like in my class, there are like 5 children who are not with us. We are hearing they will be coming to do the KCP when the time comes. They are away.
Are they?
We are hearing that they went to Ushago. That's what we are hearing, but we are not sure about that. But we are hearing they will come to do the KCP. So that's our fear now. What will they come with? Have they been learning wherever they are?
Yeah.
We are doing our level best to teach those who are here. But what about these ones who are not here? You see, that's another issue which is affecting us.
It's a big one, actually. And just before we let you go, Mwalimu, just tell us, when students don't report back, like in this case, who's following up on this? Is it the school administration? Is it the board of management? Is it the county education officers? Who is taking charge of finding out where these learners went and whether they can come back to school?
I saw there was a circular moving down here. For example, I saw our sub-chief in this area. She came here and she corrected the data of those children who did not report.
Okay.
Then they tried to follow where they are. And we have the information. Even now, the children who want to be transferred from one school to another, there is just form they are signing from the sub-county where they are coming from and where they are going. So at least they are able to trace where the children are. That's a good thing from the government, and they are doing good thing on the administration side, not the school administration. The school administration may not be able, but the sub-chiefs and all that line of administration, they are trying their best to ensure that the children, they know where the children are and where they are going, and the ministry also.
Okay.
So we know where our children are. That's why I'm telling you, the ones we don't have here, we have the information that they are somewhere in a school somewhere.
They're studying somewhere. They'll just use you as an exam center.
Yes, because they registered here. You know, they cannot change.
Okay. We hear you. Mwalimu Godfrey Kamau, thank you very much for speaking to us today and telling us what's happening in terms of teaching and learning in schools. We wish you all the best as you prepare your students to the exams and as you teach the
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We love you. We love you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mwalimu.
So the conversation continues. What does this mean when we see the results that come out? This is the assessment that was done to the grade 4s, standard 8s and form 4s when they resumed learning in October last year. It shows that they were really, really doing badly. And Mwalimu has just told us. So the ones that reopened school in January this year, they've already done an assessment and they have not performed well either. And he says, not a cause for concern, but it just shows us this was expected. But what do you think? Is there a cause for concern for you as a parent? Good morning, 27 minutes after 8. Let's take a break now on KTN Home, on Spice FM and online. See what's happening on the roads and also look at the weather. And then we take your calls as well, 0719 012 600.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, Spice FMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. The weather with Spice FM.
Cloudy conditions, mostly sunny in Nairobi this morning. Highs of 28 and lows of 15 is what we're looking at today. It's cloudy in Nyeri at 15, going to highs of 26 and lows of 11. 28 will be the high in Nakuru today. It's sunny at 17. It's cloudy in Eldoret at 12. That'll be the low for today. Then with highs of 25. Sunny conditions at 22 in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 20. We're looking at mostly sunny conditions in Kakamega at 18 degrees, highs of 31 and lows of 15. 32 will be the high in Mombasa today. It's mostly cloudy at the moment at 26. It's also cloudy in Malindi at 25, highs of 31 and lows of 24. We're looking at cloudy conditions in Kampala at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 20. It's sunny in Dar es Salaam at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 25. At 15 degrees, Johannesburg is cloudy, highs of 21 and highs of 34 in Lagos, where it's mostly clear at 26. It's mostly sunny in Kinshasa at 23. 24 will be the low, highs of 33.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Traffic.
Still looking rather clogged on Kiambu Road today as you're trying to approach Tiger Corner. So that one we know is chocker-blocked. Also, coming out of Westlands, you might want to use the Red Hill bypass if you're not up for sitting in that traffic that is Hu Highway. Then coming into the CBD, that's also pretty slow coming from Thika Road, especially if you've come by the Pangani Tunnel and then out through past Ngara and then over the Globe Cinema overpass. So there's where we're going to have issues today, and it's very, very slow. Wangari Maathai Road is your savior this morning. Try to use this. The service lanes on Thika Road are also helping out this morning. Eastern Southern bypass is looking pretty good right now. Talk to us on Spice of MKE on Twitter. Might be a good way to let us know if you are stuck somewhere or if you find a better route than what is currently being used. All right? All right.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
It's Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. Well, we're broadcasting on Spice FM. We are online and we are also on KTN Home, talking about mass failure in tests, shock of mass failure. So students, when they reopened school in October last year, there's a grade 4, standard 8 and form 4, they were subjected to a test. And this is just to assess where they were at in terms of their competencies. They were marked. The results have been compiled countrywide and were released by the Kenya National Examinations Council. And they show many students are below expectation or not meeting expectations, right? Mm-hmm. On all the subjects. We've just been speaking to the teacher, and the teacher is telling us, but this, as the teaching fraternity, we were not really concerned about that. We saw, okay, this is what we expected. It's not the first time. Every time we have gone for holiday, especially long duration of holiday period, when the learners come back to school, they sit a test. And we see this. It's consistent with what happens after holidays.
You know, there's something that he mentioned which I found interesting. You see, when you have multiple choice, essentially what you're testing is recall. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what you've read?
Yeah.
When you ask someone to actually respond in writing, that's now stimulus response. Now, you've heard of the term rote learning. Mm-hmm. What we're actually being told is this, that the way our education system is actually set up, what it does, it tests your capacity to memorize and then to regurgitate.
So the exam
and that
is
memory
testing,
also has to be stimulated.
It has to be. It has to be.
What is the name of this person? CT Muga, CT Oko, CT Latif, Ndu Oko.
So what you do is
Yes.
you're
You've already
testing-
given the person the answer.
You've given the answer, so you're testing the ability to remember that thing that you've repeated to them over and over again.
Yes.
Knowing that the answer will be there, they should be able to recognize it.
Actually, the questions are such that they will be, the glaring difference that you're waiting for will not be there. The answers will more or less be
Similar.
not that different. That's the way I would put it. So again, as you say, it then tests your ability to siphon, to sieve, and to decipher which one is correct. So yes, it requires you to remember, but it also requires you to think about it. Now, where the problem arises is this. The way the human memory works, the way the brain works, if something isn't stimulated by repetition, something you come across often enough, my friend, something else takes place.
Oh, yeah.
And so just remembering will not be as accurate as you think. Because, again, the way we remember is we relate it to other things as well. Now, if somebody has been away from school, what do you think the memory is going to relate that learning to? Yes. It isn't to other learning because you haven't been learning. But what concerns me is not even that, because that can be rectified. It's the disparity that then arises because there are students who are actually learning.
Yeah. There were those whose mind was still
Yes.
in this frame.
Yes. Yes. So it will take a shorter time to actually get them back to speed. Yes, you will get them to actually understand what needs to be done. And the teachers know how to do this.
It's interesting that you say that because the public schools did poorer than private schools in this same assessment. Now, if you look at what we saw, the majority of the students who went through online learning came from private schools.
They did.
Around the country.
They did.
So there is a definite correlation then between this recognition of what they had learned before and those who engaged in online learning at home because they had the facility to do so and the wherewithal at the same time for many different reasons, and how they performed during this exam. So those who had some extra learning during this period, by virtue of the fact that they were able to access it, did better than those who didn't. For the same fact that, so you're asking, why is it that private schools did better during this exam than public schools, during this assessment than public schools? Well, look at the factors. They had access to this learning by virtue of the fact that it was online, right? And so that's why they did better. Not necessarily because they learned a different kind of content or that they were taught differently during the school term when they were actually in school. It just means that over the period, they were able to become more familiar with the content because they had access to the education.
The interaction with the content was not interrupted.
No,
Yep.
it wasn't.
But actually, the disparity here is mainly on the social status of the learners.
Yes.
Those in private schools, but they are private schools that come from low-income areas, they were not able to access learning. In fact, their schools closed for good.
Yes.
Those in public schools, but they're in urban areas and they have some sort of ability to afford getting some sort of tuition, they manage the tuition. So what this means is that when the learners are going to sit this exam in March, there are those who did not require a lot of work of bringing them back to speed so that they can prepare for the exam. And there are those that required a lot more work. But the exam is going to be standardized. It's going to be the same exam. And when it comes to looking at the choice for schools, national schools, county schools, sub-county schools, and the rest, it'll be based on how you scored. Which means that there's a high likelihood that many of those that score highly will be those that had a bit of tuition during those 9 months. That means that the people who had a bit of money to afford some tuition during those 9 months are likely to go to the better schools in high school. What does this do in terms of exposing us and that disparity? It's basically just transferring it.
Actually, it is perpetrating it and ensuring that it continues. Because in all honesty, what public schools are supposed to help do is bring up some form of equalization.
Yep.
So that everybody has what we like referring to as a level playing field. Unfortunately, COVID has done the complete opposite.
But even before the COVID, CT, there was not a level playing field, was there? There
No,
wasn't.
there wasn't, yes, generally speaking.
Yeah.
But when it comes to learning, the opportunity was level. Yes.
Because all of you are going to school.
Yes.
All of you are following the same syllabus.
Syllabus, and you're all being taught.
Yeah.
And
And
school
sitting
times
the
were
same
the same.
exam.
Yes, the school times were the same. Now, we're not going into the details of how many you were in class and what have you.
How many teachers?
Well, that has always been there. But the opportunity to learn was not interrupted. Yes.
So, is it possible then that there is a fear or that there is alarm generally across the country right now, whether it's coming from teachers or parents? I mean, I know we heard from Mwalimu Kamau, but is there some kind of apprehension then in the next 48 days? What are we looking at? Give or take 6 weeks when this KCPE will be written. Is there a feeling of uncertainty, of anxiety in the country as to how these learners are going to perform? And I would say yes, there is. There is that feeling of, okay, well, what's going to happen now?
You have the feeling of anxiety.
However, I think there is a feeling generally of anxiety of how they're going to perform.
Okay.
However, I don't think it is because of this assessment. I think it is because of the fact that children have been out of school. And so now they're saying, are we going to be able to perform as we would had that break not taken place?
Actually,
This is a contributing factor, but I don't think would be the sole reason for any kind of anxiety that anybody is feeling right now over their children or their students in terms of how they're going to perform during this exam.
let me give you an example. There was once upon a time when I was a high school teacher, I was also an examiner. Now, one of the things that you would do is there were years when the paper that you were part of marking, the students would not do well. So, and there are years when they would do very well. So, what this meant was you either raised the pass mark or you lowered it. Even at institutions of higher learning, by the way, you do it. But then it just involves drawing a line. Okay? So, if you're above this, you've passed. If you're below this, you've passed. The same process will be applied because the majority of people, learners in this school, in this country, are in public institutions.
Yep.
The vast majority.
Yeah.
So if you have a situation where on average the vast majority are not doing well, all you will do,
Pass mark will come down.
You will know
maybe
it.
38%.
yes, exactly. So even the entry requirements will also be lowered so that the opportunity is not actually lost. It's
Yeah.
not as though you will not be able to go to school because you didn't.
So from
Makes
your
sense.
experience, is this something that would be done prior to or after the examination?
No,
takes place?
it's
It's
during.
after marking.
I mean, you have
Okay.
to you have to see the
Where it
outcome
is,
of the
and then
exam
from
first.
that. So because that's what I'm saying. If there is anxiety at this point, and so you look like, okay, so you don't take your attention away from doing as best that you can. But when you get, as you're marking and you get the results and you see, hold on a minute, things may have shifted a little bit because the performance doesn't look like that. So we're saying in order to allow the flow to continue, what we're going to actually do is jig things a little
It's
bit.
normal
so that
practice.
everybody
Believe me,
can
it is
go
normal, accepted practice. Normal. Even at university level, it is done.
This happens. So therefore, and because then a majority are the ones who will have determined where that median is drawn, then it also means that very many of those that are above that median will have the same opportunity
Yes.
as the few
Yes.
who are in the private schools who have better
Yes.
social status.
They will.
Okay.
They will.
I think it sort of balances it out. Then,
does.
And
It does.
removes that fear. When Mwalimu was speaking to us and we asked him more than once, is there concern? Is there a cause for concern? Mwalimu, who normally would raise a lot of concern when there's concern, was like,
No, he's not. He's not
No,
really
we're not
concerned.
even looking at that assessment as anything to go by. You know, it's just to show us how things have been, how they were. And we shouldn't have been surprised. What do you expect? Look at it. What did he say? When children go on the long holiday, December, or even the summer holidays in the middle of the year, when they come back, why do they do an assessment? Because they know that there has been a period of time where you've been out of school a month, and children tend to forget what they've learned.
They actually want to understand where you are at, so that
over
they
this
can
holiday.
focus on
Yeah.
what now needs to be done.
And that's a month, 6 weeks, maximum 8 weeks that they've been on holiday, right? At any one time during the year. Now you're talking about 9 months. What did you expect was going to happen? So I can understand from their point of view that, look, we're not taking this as such a scary thing that we don't know what to do. They know what to do, right? And the hope there is that, we can refresh their memory in terms of what they've learned. And I think also it's very important for us to realize this KCPE is not just this last term. It's a combination of everything that you've learned over time. So what are we trying to say is that you're picking up on the knowledge that you've been given over the years. It's not just the last 1 year.
You see, there's also something that may not be in the forum of discussion that we're having, but in my mind it must be, is the setting of the exams. Because if you, for instance, this was something that I experienced in those days when I was an examiner. If somebody who had been an exam setter, as we called them, but had then moved from the classroom and was now probably, because of further education, a university lecturer or teacher, when they set an exam, chances are that exam would not mirror what the students are actually doing in class. Yes, because to be honest, to actually understand what the students are doing, you actually need to be involved.
You need to be there.
Yes, it has to be something you experience on a daily basis. Okay? Now, there's something called moderation. This is what we were talking about earlier. Even when it comes to the examination, you need to moderate it. You need to ensure that the examination takes into account the reality of what the students have gone through, even as you're sitting for these exams. There are some exams that I'm sure when anyone who's going to school, you encounter an exam and you wonder, what on earth is this exam about? Because
was I in this class?
Yes, exactly. You didn't learn it. You learn, what is this? Okay? Now, that question can be asked of one or two questions that are being asked, but it can't be of the entire exam. Because then whoever set that exam missed the point. Now, the Kenya National Examination Council, believe me, is a body that knows what it's doing. And they will ensure that the people who set these exams have taken the things that we're discussing here into account.
For sure.
So it won't be something that will test the students beyond that which they were taught or beyond that which they're able to do. No. It will actually have taken into account all these things that we're speaking about.
All the things that we're talking about.
Yes.
Now, then, with that context, with the question here, is there cause for alarm? Should there be alarm? Let's look at the phrasing of the headlines. Mass failure in tests. Right? Those 4 words, mass failure in tests. You wake up in the morning and you're seeing this, and you've got a student, a learner who is a candidate this year, sitting an exam shortly. You look at this other headline. Shock of mass failure. What is the headline in the Star?
KCP class of 2020 unprepared. Kenya
There
National
you
Examination
go.
Council.
There you go. Now, you're a parent and you've got a candidate, and then you wake up to these headlines.
Man, you go into a serious
course.
panic.
What happens?
You go into a panic.
So, and let's now ask that question and ask of the parents that question. Is there really cause for alarm with this? We've
you know
heard
what
from the
folks are doing
teacher.
already
We've
today?
discussed this. Is there really, really cause for alarm?
As far as the parents are concerned, yes.
As far as the parents are concerned, absolutely. And
Should
you know what's
there
going
be?
to what's going to happen in the next few days is that parents are going to start hiring private
Extra
tutors,
tuition.
stay in school for longer. We've got only 6 weeks to do this. There's going to be money spent on teachers having to come home, and over the weekend that's what's going to happen.
And that transfers
all
that panic and all
to the student.
To the candidate.
Well, this is us at it again, isn't it?
So this basically, we can be saying that this phrasing of these headlines is what is going to cause the alarm, but not necessarily
The
content,
reality of the situation.
the
No.
reality of the situation.
No.
So we are asking that question on social media this morning. Should there be alarm ahead of KCPE? Some 2 or 3 comments that are coming in, Ndu.
Right, so should there be alarm? Well, not really. It's just that the government, through the teachers, should implement extra classes like tuition in school after classes, and that's from David. Raphael says, no alarm is needed. There's a trillion... Well, yeah, there is 1,000,001 things that can be done by a student who performs averagely. Plus, panic has never made things better. Never. Point is that all is not lost. I like that very much, is that, you're not at the end of the tether here. There are many things that can be done, and there are many options that are available, just like you said, and things. And because we're not looking at isolated cases, you're looking at an entire country who's gone through the same thing. So in term, again, I'm saying there's no alarm, and I think this can be quite misleading. There is no cause for alarm. It can be quite misleading, and it takes that you look between the lines and seeing, okay, what's really going on here, and say how can we work through it.
There's been a debate for the longest time, which sort of like looks at the disparities that we spoke of, economic, social, and even environmental. That when you come from certain areas of this particular country, the mean requirement for you to be accepted into a national school was lowered. There are people who pitched a fit about it and said, no, this shouldn't be like this, shouldn't be like that, shouldn't be like that. Fine, we understand the freedoms accorded in our constitution, but in all honesty, you cannot compare a learning environment in which the school that you are in became an aquarium, okay? So you have to move a very long distance by boat again to get to that near school with someone who simply just continues walking to school or going to school the way they did. The moment you have an environmental disaster, like the backflow of the waters we've been talking about, the learning is disrupted completely. Before an even playing field is found and before you can be allocated to a new school, my friend, a lot will have changed. And that learning will continue being disrupted for the simple reason that your movement means changing very many things in your life. So when you try to balance these things, it is something that we've been dealing with, again, and I say, for the longest time. And the government has understood the disparities. The government has actually understood the need to standardize things by ensuring that people don't suffer unduly simply because you are disadvantaged by virtue of distance, by virtue of the environment, by virtue of tribal clashes or whatever it is that happens in your region. They have attempted to. Now, COVID has been a national disaster. And I'm saying, they will understand. And they have understood it. It's not that they haven't understood it. They have understood it.
I think it's at that time that you can actually say then without, doubt that, there is no cause for alarm and that I wouldn't worry too much about where we are with this. I really would not worry too much. And you know what? Yeah, again, regardless of what the results of the exam will be, though, of course, there are those who will ride on the fact or ride on the result, ride on this and say, well, the general idea is that there was COVID, so even if we do poorly during KCPE, they're going to understand. There's a danger of that, and I think we must be careful. Yes?
Even when there was no COVID, parents who have students who are going to, they will be anxious.
You will be a candidate next year.
They will, hey.
You'll be a candidate
my friend, that anxiety, it has become part of our DNA.
But why is that so?
I think we should be.
Why is that
because
so?
Because the focus has been on the performance in an exam as opposed to the learning. Somebody wants you to get an A. Somebody wants you to make sure you get at least a B. But the focus has not been, are we really looking at the critical learning of these students? Have they been able to really learn? And when I say learn, I don't just mean regurgitate an answer and so you just spit it out for the sake of being able to pass an exam. But has real learning actually taken place? And that's the problem, that people are looking on the scores. So did you get 400 and something? You're not really bothered about whether the student has learned anything or not.
That's besides
That's
the point.
not the point. You're worried about the
point.
marks. That's why. That's where the pressure comes from. Because you want them to score high marks. You're not really worried about or really concerned about what they're learning.
It's not the parent. You see, the parent is concerned about that because this high mark is what is going to land you a place in high school.
And
in a particular high school.
And at Form 4, it will land you at the university.
University.
Yeah, in a particular
course as well in the university. And with that, then also it gives you a bit of a fighting chance in the job market.
Yes.
With your papers. Okay? So you as a parent, what's the first thing that you want to do? First of all, just ensure that this line is clear. Get what is required. Secondly, now make sure that at least you understand what is required.
And see, I think this all ties in with the conversation that we're having even about TVETs earlier on. What are they bringing in? So they're saying that regardless of what it is, you can actually come and specialize over a skill or a talent that you have.
Yeah.
And that's where we should be going in terms of knowledge and understanding. Because look, you may find somebody who gets 490 something on their exam, but then ask them to stand in front of a crowd of people and give a presentation. They cannot.
They cannot.
Because they're not able to process information. Something that you would think an education would allow you to do. do critically. Those are some of the things that we are talking about.
And
Where
studies
should the
have
focus
actually
be?
been conducted and have shown that.
Yeah.
That this, despite having people who have this kind of qualification, their actual skill is wanting. Let's hear from Fred in Nairobi, and we are taking your call, 0719-012-600. Fred, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Hope you guys are also good.
We
Yeah,
are very
good.
well, thanks for asking. Should there be cause for alarm?
Yes, there should be cause for alarm. I agree with Ndu. The current structure of the education system is such that you eat, you chew, and you regurgitate whatever that you've been given. Unfortunately, it sounds like an animal, but the main thing is the system is such that your children are coming out half baked and not being corrigible. In essence, they cannot think straight. They cannot make decisions in terms of where they want to go in life. If you give them an opportunity to actually showcase their own talents, they'll definitely do that. But it's a tendency that you have to nurture from when they are very young. You see the talents that they are. Case in point, or for example, if you check China or Japan, those aspects or those talents actually picked out early enough, and you're segregated in terms of your abilities. It is not a matter of how many marks can you accord at the end of 8 years or the end of 7 years, and then present your skills. Yet you know for sure this is not me.
Yeah,
I'm not a mathematician. Why am I being forced towards mathematics? I'm not a scientist. Why am I forced towards and so on and so forth? So the thing is, our system is just not just sit right. It's not in the right direction.
But how, if I may ask, how would you know whether you're a mathematician or not, or a scientist, if you do not go through the subjects to find out whether you're actually capable of performing or even understanding them?
or liking.
Yes.
Yes, as I said earlier on, if you notice, you need to pick out the child's talents early enough. Within the first, within the first 4
The
or
early
5
years of learning.
Yes. You'll notice a tendency of a child to start picking out blocks of playthings and aligning them and also counting them. You'll find another one is tending towards painting or doing something. Another one is tending towards musical instrument, or someone is tending towards cookery, and so on and so forth. So that is where I'm saying you can actually pick out that early enough. And then after that, you tend to, you kind of direct that child.
You nurture that one.
Yes.
Fred, thank you very much for your call today.
You're welcome.
Keep
Thank you,
listening
Fred.
to Spice FM. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We want to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. The conversation continues on Spice FM. If you're in Nairobi, tune in to 94.4. Mombasa is 87.9. Kisumu 102.5. Nakuru 96.0. 96.7 in Eldoret. Nyeri 90.9. Malindi 97.7. Or you can just catch the conversation on YouTube. We're live streaming. We are also live streaming on Facebook and Twitter. Spice FM KE, the channel and accounts. Good morning. It's now 5 minutes to 9.
.9 Spice FM, Mombasa.
All right, so journalist Hits is saying something.
According to John, meanwhile, students from schools owned by a certain royal family connected to, were in face-to-face class from mid-September when Matiang'i locked everything else down. Some kids obviously can't get COVID. All right.
Journalist Hits.
Conspiracy.
Completely. Write the book.
Is that it?
Okay, so exams are coming up in a couple of weeks' time. All right, learners and teachers have been working on the learners, preparing them for this particular exam so they can go with it. We've heard from teachers. We've even heard from the National Examinations Council when it was releasing this, and Ministry of Education officials saying, you know what, we saw this, we expected it, we've been working towards the exam. The exam is going to come, it's going to move on. Students will take this. So the issue of the concern is something that you should ask, as a parent, you should think twice about, should I really be concerned? Be concerned after looking at your own child and saying, do they look well prepared? Do they look, like they are ready to sit this exam? Then have a conversation with their teachers. I think one thing that we've got to constantly remember is that we've got professionals in this education sector.
And who know what they're doing.
Yes.
Oh, they most
Yeah,
definitely
they know what
do.
they're doing.
Not just know, they know it full well. They know exactly what to do.
It's what they do on a daily basis.
Yes.
In fact. So when you hear, for example, from Mwalimu Godfrey, and he tells you, we do this on a daily basis. He already knows, if I, as a teacher, appear to have a certain mindset, that mindset transfers to the student. If I look unprepared to the student will be unprepared. If I look confident to the student will be confident. True?
You have no idea how true it is. Remember when we were having a discussion about the burning of schools and what have you?
Yes.
And I raised this matter with the NAT Secretary General. I said, what have we done to ensure that the teachers are remunerated adequately? They are pivotal to this entire discussion. You may not think so, but they are. Because even these day schools we speak of, students spend more time in school than they do at home. Just think about it.
Yep.
A time when they are interacting, home they sleep also.
Yep.
Right.
And when they are asleep, they're not interacting
They're
with
not
anybody.
interacting with anyone.
But they're interacting with sleep. So
In fact, boarding, they are actually in that communal setting.
yes, they are. So if these people who are charged with the responsibility of overseeing these students in this environment, if their welfare, because their welfare determines the state of mind they are in. And as Mwalimu Kamau said, the state of mind is something you communicate to the students. What do you think? This one is not really difficult to
It's
understand.
Not, it's one plus one.
It's not difficult to understand. So you keep talking about caning and everything else that you want to talk about, and you fail to focus on the one cog in this wheel called the educator, the teacher, who is the principal partner in this process here. Then everything else you do, you can do all that you want.
You'll be sending the wrong vibe. Huh?
Yes, exactly.
All right, so keeping right here for more conversations. In the next hour, we'll be talking about the forthcoming referendum. Members of the county assembly have suddenly become the bride, the girl that is being wooed by everybody. The president had a meeting with them. The leader of the largest opposition party in the country had a meeting with others yesterday. Same promise has been made and same outcome is expected. You are going to be looking at the BBI bill. We expect at least, how many? 47 divided by 2. 40.
Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay,
Traffic.
so let's look at other parts of Nairobi. Peponi Road today is jam-packed, bumper to bumper. Everybody's there. Matatus, public service, everybody, private vehicles, trucks, lorries, everything. Nobody's passing through today for some reason. People were looking for an alternate. Just use the bypass, guys. I know it's longer, but it actually helps. And then we don't have these problems that we are seeing right now. Okay, coming off of Thika Road, going towards the CBD, that also is very slow. Wangari Maathai Road, I keep telling you guys, it's the way to go. She'll do you very well. Okay, apart from that, Mombasa Road, we still see the normal problems. We have more traffic now on Uhuru Highway heading into the CBD. That's a bit slow, but we'll look at that in a short while and see how that has opened up. Okay? All right. Talk to us. You can remember Spice of MKE on Twitter. Or you can text us, 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
2 minutes
The
after
only
9,
way
this is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. So, coming into the 4th hour of the show, let's begin with today's proverb. CT.
When the music changes, so does the dance.
All right. So, we change. We change the music. So, we change the dance. After the reggae, play the blues.
Oh gosh, why am I even following you? Can you imagine I'm following you?
What is it, CT?
Now, I was just thinking about madness. And I was thinking that, it isn't absolutely necessary, but sometimes it is useful. To be just a little off your rockers. It's okay.
It's okay. It's good,
It's
eh?
fine. Especially on a Wednesday. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. City, so tell us about MCAs and how well they are positioned now to milk this camel.
One of the things that is atypical about our politics is this. Well, maybe I didn't use the right phrase, but nonetheless, let me just plod along as I'm going. The predictability of it. You see, you often get the impression that whenever, and we've said this on many occasions, whenever you hear there's a loud din, there's a focus on a certain noise about an issue, it isn't as though the issue is being highlighted. People are bargaining. Politicians are bargaining. There's something they require, there's something that they want, there's something they feel they should get. The moment we devolved and we had what you call a county assembly, our papers, our media have been replete with constant infighting that arises from the executive versus the assembly. We've seen it time and time again. But what we're now seeing in the papers seems to follow up from a discussion that didn't take place now, took place quite a while back. At the inception, the MCAs had certain benefits, and those benefits were very, very similar. They mirrored the benefits that members of parliament had. Then for some reason, financial and otherwise, those benefits were reduced. Now, what we are now witnessing, if you ask me, is a return to what had previously been there. Now, if you look at the timing of it, there's very little goodwill that you can attribute to this particular turn of event. What you can attribute it to is using the powers that exist within the structure to influence a pending decision that is anticipated will fall on the laps of the MCAs. Now, you can read it any way you like, but the reasoning that in my mind would take center stage is the one that I've put across. Now, I would make it an even bigger discussion if a group of MCAs declined and said we do not need this.
We don't want the car
loans. No, we do not want the car loans. We actually find the way we are. And if you talk about car loans, let this matter come before us and then talk about the car loans after we have made our decision.
Don't use the word loan, City.
All right, let's refer to it as a grant, shall we? Is that more palatable? Grant? Okay.
Yes.
The car grant.
Yes.
Yes.
Gift.
Yes. When you have a situation where something of this sort is being proposed and there is no opposition to it, I'm sure we'll hear some. The MCA...
Wait. City,
You'll hear
some
Yes.
MCC. I don't
No,
want.
not
opposition from
Then-
other quarters.
Not
from
M-
other
quarters, not MCAs, not
saying, I
MCAs.
don't want the car.
How do you really
It'll be a
think
cold day in hell.
you really think a
Something like
Kenyan
that would
MCA is going to look at a gift horse in the tooth?
If you are a Kenyan MCA,
If you are a Kenyan MCA,
They give me 2 million
at this
shilling
point
car,
in time,
and then I say no. Don't even
with
cheat
an election
yourself.
just around the corner, they'll tell you,
Never.
here's 2 million and you can spend it.
Never. And I'll say I don't want. Let's just be serious now. Never.
My friend, you are going to see motorbikes that cost 2 million.
Yes, no.
Tuk-tuks that cost 2.5 million.
Yes.
Wait and see.
Then I say no.
So, if that is the situation we find ourselves in, then I think the debate that we often have about the self-centered nature of our politics, I think added to the other discussion we've had about the yardstick by which you should judge politicians, should we consider that politicians ought to be judged by the projections of what they intend to do and how they achieve them and how well they achieve them, vis-a-vis this moralistic perspective that we often have about they ought to be thinking of the people they represent more than they ought to be thinking of themselves. Wishful thinking for the best part, because we keep suggesting it, but what we keep seeing is what we call the self-centered approach. And when you see something often enough, surely don't you think you ought to understand that that is the status quo and say, this is what is going to happen and this is the yardstick that we've been told we should judge them by?
Is this not horse trading, though? Is this not, you as a national leader, you are 100% convinced that this project is the best thing for the country, okay? And you know that the people who are critical to ensuring that this project comes to fruition are these MCAs. So what do? You look and see, okay, how can I persuade them?
Persuade?
Yes.
Bribe.
How can I persuade them so that, you don't just pick something out of the blues. It's a conversation that has happened before they've raised the same issue. You've told them, you know what, guys, there's no money. There's no money for such kind of grants and all. The SRC must be the one that tells us this. And the SRC has said, no, not justified. But at this particular point, you're looking at it and you're saying, you see, if this BBI passes, there'll be enough money to cover for this 2B. So you're looking at it from a point of national good. So while you can argue that this is not necessarily bribing at all, it is basically just using all the tools at your disposal to make sure that the public good is realized.
That's rich, Eric.
Public good in this particular case is life after BBI.
Very good. It's nice the way you've couched that. It's rich, actually. But let's just be very honest here. If that was the case, then you wouldn't need to drop that gem during this whole negotiation. You could have kept it still. If what you're saying is that it was for the greater good of the country, etc., you could have kept it. You didn't have to put it out there. But the very fact is that was dropped in there to persuade them to make a decision about this BBI. Had it not been, it would not have been mentioned. It's the straw that broke this camel's back, broke or would essentially break
it is
to
what
make
is
them
needed.
make the decision.
What is needed
It
to
is a bribe.
cross the other side? What do we need to cross River Jordan?
A bribe. And you know what?
You
It
came and
actually
asked me,
shows-
you wanted us to build a bridge, and I told you we're in the middle of a desert. Now
it actually
here we are.
shows
Here
that
is the
you,
river.
as the national leader, you know the nature of these ones who are below you. You know that it's easy to get them to cross to the other side. Give them the thing that they want.
Yes.
All this time they've been asking, you told them that there's no money. Suddenly, you need them to make a decision in your favor. So this thing that they've been asking for, you say, okay, actually now, you know what? We can give it to you. You don't come right out and say it, but essentially what it is that if you drum up support and you make a decision in our favor, that thing which you've been asking for, we're going to go ahead and give it to you. Bribery. What are we talking about?
So you're calling this bribery?
It is.
That MCAs are being bribed?
Yes, because if you really wanted
So
to give
they
it to them,
pass.
if you wanted to give it to them, and if you knew that the provision was there to give it to them, when they asked for it, you would not have told them that we cannot afford it. Suddenly, you can afford it because this thing that is coming about, we will be able to afford this money. Come on. Why?
But maybe you can. Remember,
in the same breath, you've said that even doctors and whoever else should wait because you cannot afford to pay them. Let's have this discussion later.
but you
Yeah,
know,
it can't- it's
but
gotta be
no,
one
the
thing
doctor
or the
discussion
other.
is a bit different because if you look at the working condition that the doctors have, they have a very valid case and it's something that must be looked into, especially with COVID. And even when COVID has been tamed and is under control, it must be considered. But if you're talking about the outright pay, then that's a completely different discussion. Because it cannot be said that people in the health sector are not being paid well. It cannot be said. It doesn't matter how you look at it, because well, it's a comparative term compared to other people who also work within our setup. They are being paid better. Now, if they think they should be paid better,
Beteta.
That's a completely different discussion.
No, we're talking about happening within COVID times. Within COVID times, certain things were needed to be done. It couldn't be done because we essentially said that doesn't have money. We heard from the Council of Governors to hire more people, to pay them better. We don't have the money. In the next 100 years, we will not be able to make that decision.
In an environment where we're talking about cutting salaries, and salaries have been cut, and then other people are talking about increasing salaries. That discussion is a bit skewed. That's why I said, if the discussion is about working conditions and ensuring that the working conditions are adequate to the task, there's nothing to argue about. It should be done.
That's what part of the discussion is.
Yes, but you throw in salaries. You've muddied the waters.
Now, guess what? When you throw in 2 million shilling vehicles, the water is not only muddy, it is mud.
Actually, no, it isn't mud. It's a political situation. Remember, unions are political in nature. All right. Now, the unions were doing really well with their discussion about their demands. As I said, until the salaries. What did they then do? They gave the governors a what? A get out of jail card. Because now it was, okay, these guys want more money. This is what they get. This is what they get compared to this. So how? Now, instead of strengthening their position, the position was actually weakened. That discussion about the working condition was a strong one, and there's nothing you could do about that one. You had to fulfill it. Why not get that one in place and then bring the salary issue later if you feel you must?
Now, what did you do? You went and now started
the honestness, because
bringing the doctors into the conversation of MCAs.
Has now moved. Now
I haven't moved. I haven't moved. It is different example, same subject.
Different example.
Same subject.
Okay, wait.
Money being given for what?
Yes, it is for what?
Yes.
For what is what matters.
Yes.
Okay.
For what?
Promises being made for vehicles so you can actually essentially make a decision or drum up support in one direction.
Look,
you didn't give them the car before for certain reasons. Suddenly now you are able to do it. It is clear because you want them to make a decision in a certain direction. You want them to drum up support. So guess what? That carrot, you dangle it a little closer. You dangle it a little lower. And in this case, the carrot is the vehicle. We'll give you that thing you've been wanting.
This thing you're calling a carrot existed before.
That thing you've wanted.
It existed.
That thing you have wanted all this time. Now, you see?
Look.
If essentially, situate now. If you do things in this direction, we'll give you the car. What is that?
Do you know of any situation, I can think of one, but I'm asking it anyway, where the benefits accruing to MPs have been removed or reduced?
Tell us that one that you're thinking of so we can, move ahead.
House allowances.
It has been reduced. Yeah. In fact, the money that was paid to them, they've been asked
This
to
one,
pay it back.
by the court.
By the court. The
Yes.
court has asked them to pay the money over a year.
But is there anything else? No. No.
Your point being?
Increase. My point being, the MCAs had this benefit removed. They had it. I'm trying to explain to you that this is not something new. The initial MCAs who came in when we had devolution, they had these grants for vehicles.
They didn't. They were campaigning for them.
No,
Then Sarah Serem said,
Forget about it.
Eric, they had facilities that would enable them to get vehicles.
yes, facilities, yes.
Call it a
Grant.
grant. That facility was removed. It was removed.
Now it can be brought back if you make a decision like this.
Now,
What are we saying? Come on.
Let's
the
take a
question
break.
they're asking is, MPs have these benefits.
Why
we
not
are
us?
also members of our parliament.
Now
Why
you
can't we?
want the benefit? Now make a decision in this direction. What is that?
It's a bribe.
No,
So the
it isn't.
question we are
No,
asking-
folks.
So
No.
come
So
on.
let's put it in context, and then we can also invite our audience to participate in this. President Uhuru Kenyatta meets with MCAs at the Sagana State Lodge over the weekend. Opposition leader Raila Odinga meets with MCAs from ODM in Nairobi yesterday. Conversation has gone into, okay, MCAs, pass this, you will get a car grant. Raila actually said it is not conditional. The president has already looked at the plight of what you guys have been talking about. You're the ones who are right there, meeting with the people, dealing with the people, requiring to travel left, right, and center. It makes sense to get a car grant. So the president has said, all right, this one we're going to work on. He needs to issue a circular. The SRC needs to play its part. But he's the head of government, head of state. It's going to happen.
can make it happen.
Raila said, the president made a promise. It's going to happen. Don't ask me about SRC. No, it will happen. So Raila said to his MCAs, ODM MCAs, once the president made that promise, just consider it done. In this meeting yesterday, there were several leaders, and this is what they were talking about. Just as we go into the weather break, listen to what was said yesterday at this meeting between the ODM leadership and the MCAs from ODM.
Walikuwa na matakwa kadhaa ambayo wanataka grant yaliwekwa kwa meza. And the president has already issued a directive on the car grant. Sasa tunangojea tu paperwork. Tunangojea logistics za COB, za SRC, Now we are just waiting for the logistics.
Na hiyo circular ikuje haraka kwa tena. Kwa wiki moja, wiki mbili. Hiyo tutapitisha kabisa.
Just ensure that we get the car grant and leave the rest to us.
Mimi nataka kuhakikisha nyinyi Uhuru amesema na hatarudi nyuma. Na hiyo si hongo. If we can justify giving a car grant to the members of parliament, why not to the members of county assembly? So don't make passing the BPI conditional to the car grant. Car grant is coming.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice.
Sunny in Nairobi, 28 the high and lows of 15 today. Cloudy conditions in Nyeri at 17, highs of 26, coming down to lows of 11. 13 will be the low in Nakuru today, where it's sunny at 19. It's sunny in Eldoret at 16, going to highs of 25 and lows of 12. 20 the low in Kisumu. Sunny conditions at 24 at the moment. It's mostly sunny in Kakamega at 22. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 15. We'll see highs of 32 in Mombasa. It's mostly cloudy at 28. It's raining in Malindi now at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 25. And we're looking at sunny conditions in Kampala at 22, highs of 28 and lows of 20. Dar es Salaam, mostly sunny at 25, going to highs of 32. We're looking at cloudy conditions in Johannesburg, where it's at 15 degrees, highs of 21. Mostly sunny in Lagos at 26, highs of 34 today. 33 will be the high in Kinshasa, where it's mostly sunny at 23. Let's look into Beijing now. It's sunny at 7, highs of 6 and lows of minus 10. It's raining in Paris at 12, highs of 13 and lows of 6, and mostly clear conditions in London at 9, going to highs of 10 today. Right smack on 0 is what is happening in New York. Snow showers right now, highs of 2 and lows of minus 2.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
20 minutes after 9. Join the conversation 0719-012-600. Is this car grant promise to the MCAs bribery? Is it bribery or a tool for persuasion? This is just, the national leadership looking at what is in the best interest of the country going forward and seeing. So here we have to have a political negotiation, and politically speaking, as you negotiate, you make some certain pledges. Or is this bribery? What are people saying on social media?
Our politics is legalizing bribery, and this is yet another attempt to woo the MCAs with our own taxes. This is according to Abraham. It is shameful to hear Raila speak such things. He's never come back from these preemptive atrocities against our economic well-being. Why did he have to say CEC Hongo? Victor Ochi says, for me, it's like they want to make the MCAs, make them feel that they're also members of parliament to the country, like the MPs. I support it. So that's coming from Victor.
Okay. Isi hongo. It's like when you're giving a cop, some tea. Mkubwa, mimi sikuhongi. Hii ni shukrani. Right. Anthony in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, how are you?
Very well.
Very well, thanks.
I've been listening to you the whole morning.
Mm-hmm.
And today has been one hell of a discussion. But even my boss, who's a foreigner, that issue about education you were talking, he was just nodding his head. You've had one of the best conversations today.
Yes.
You've enlightened a lot of people. And I've learned a lot from conversation today in the morning.
Asante sana.
Asante sana.
When we come to the issue at hand,
Mm-hmm.
this is totally bribery. There's nothing else you can say it is. These guys, when they met Uhuru, they started shouting, car grants, car grants, car grants. They couldn't listen to anything. In fact, the second morning when PS Kedisho was talking to them and the president hadn't arrived, they cut him short. They didn't let him continue whatever he was talking to them. They shouted, car grants, that's what they wanted.
Uh-huh.
If the government knew these people needed the car grants, they would have given them before. But when you give and take, that is a total bribe. They are bribing the MCS, and they are doing all they can to force the BBI down our throats. What I'm asking is, this money they are saying that will come to solve all these problems, all these issues they are coming up with, where will it come from? Where in the BBI is there indication of an extra source of income for the government other than taxation? Also, all they are doing is overburdening the mwananchi who pays tax.
Okay.
And the problem we are having is this, the main issue, they can tax us as heavily as they want, as long as these taxes are used properly.
Right.
We have the president the other day telling us we are losing 2 billion per day. And he's doing nothing about it. And even if he is, we don't, because he never told us what he's doing about it.
It's still being lost.
Yeah. So it depends me as a taxpayer. When when I'm forced to pass something that will come and tax me more heavily for the taxes just to be stolen. If we could be seeing them managing what they have now, such that nothing is being lost as of now, we could be trusting them that if they tax us more to cater for all these whatever car grants, extra seats they are creating and everything, they will handle that cash well. We could be trusting them.
You could be trusted. Now you don't have that trust. Anthony, thank you very much for your contribution.
They're already stealing.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Let's hear from Lydia in Parklands. Good morning.
Good morning, Spice FM. Thank you for your good work. Your good debates are good for health. But to go and demonstrate on the road, the robbers, the looters are just waiting for an excuse that these two politicians are fighting. So we are now coming to loot and grab. So what BBI did in a document, it is better to know how crooked they are. Mata Karua is very accurate in describing BBI. They are just corruption. They were, Raila and his KANU bosses gave us post-election violence government. Blood code. So the document is better to discuss than having robbers and looters
all over
killing people. Yes.
Thank you, Lydia.
So advise them, keep talking so that everybody discusses it and not allows the robbers and grabbers to come on the road with an excuse that you have an argument. Thank you, Spice FM, for your good work.
Thank you. Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama kabisa Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Mimi niko safi kabisa.
Hata mimi niko safi. Sasa Eric, tuseme tu kweli, tuseme tu kama Wakenya.
Hebu salimia Nduna City.
Nafikiri wamesalimia.
Wanaona ni kama nina ground.
Hatuwezi kufikiria mpaka utusalimie kaka.
Salama sana
muda. Hatujambo kaka, hatujambo, hatujui wewe.
Mimi niko salama, Mungu anasaidia.
Asante.
Haya, sasa ile kitu iko yaani mheshimiwa rais kweli shule anaweza kupatia MCA shilingi milioni 2 ya gari tu gari. Eric sahi sina hata shilingi kwa mfuko. Sasa mimi nitapata wapi yangu sasa? Kama kuna MCA hivi ni raia mwenyewe kwa hapo chini kwa ground nitapewa yangu.
Sumama kama MCA next time.
Kama ni milioni 2 nimepewa kwa maslahi raia huko chini ataseka wacha tu ikae. Lakini mheshimiwa rais hapo umeboronga.
So any bribery. Okay. Thank you very much, Joel. 0719-012-600. Do you think this is bribery or is it just persuasion to get the BBI across the line? Because you're completely convinced that this is the way to go. And you're seeing there's huddle here and there, and you have tools at your disposal.
When you have committee meetings within Parliament and you give them an allowance, are you bribing them?
To do their work.
To do their work.
Precisely. Now, if as you are presenting this particular case, you're saying that they are now being offered this grant during this period in time, and that is to influence the decision making that precedes the BBI. Is that not so? And you're saying that because of the timing of it, then this money which is being offered is a bribe.
Such colorful trimmings you've put on this thing, CT, but unfortunately, it is not their work in this case.
But it is their work to debate these things.
It's an idea that certain people in the country want to pass through. If it was their work expressly, they had to do it, we would not be going to something called the referendum for people to make a decision on this thing. It's not cast in stone, it's not in law.
But they have to pass it.
They have
For us to get to that referendum.
They have to pass it or not.
They have to debate it.
They have to debate it or not. So it's not that they will debate it and then the answer comes through. But essentially what you're telling them now is, you know what? Debate this thing, pass it, we give you a car. Come on, what is that?
I've got three callers on the line. Let's just go straight to them. Mwangi in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Now, I think this is not new. What you're talking about is not new. The other day, in the barrio at Kisii, Simba alluded to the fact that they've been getting 7 million. Those are members of parliament.
Yep.
We've heard of members of parliament getting 10,000 in the toilet.
Yep.
That is corruption.
10,000 in the toilet is bribery. Car grant for MPs, is that bribery?
It's bribery, definitely. If I'm giving you money to do something for me in return, that is bribery.
It's a salary.
So is our beef the venue where the money is actually given out, or is it the amount, or is it the timing? Which is which? If the money was given at Uhuru National at Uhuru Park, would it have the same impact as when it is given in a toilet?
Yeah, because you want a favor from me in return. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is bribery.
It is, my brother. I agree with you. Because in this sense, if you knew that they deserve these vehicles for their service unto the country, you would have given them before. But now you've attached the condition to it.
It should be in their job description.
Yeah. You've attached the condition to it and you've said, okay,
exactly.
So we're saying that, go ahead, debate this, bring it to our favor. Those car grants you've been wanting all this time, to which we had previously said, no, we'll now give you. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Samuel. Samuel, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
How are
you?
I'm good.
Is this a bribery?
Actually, I'm looking at this issue this way. These people wametuzoea.
Nani?
Hawa wanasiasa wametuzoea, from MPs to whoever the MCAs. Ukiangalia mishahara yao ile wanapata from the MPs. Actually, who set their salary? Nani amewawekea hiyo salary? Wanapata salary kubwa sana kwa sababu ya nini? Kwa sababu Wakenya tumenyamaza. So they know hata wakajiongezea vile walijiongezea last time, hakuna kitu itafanyika. So hii ndio wakati wetu katika hii BBI. Kama wangekuwa kweli wanataka kweli tuseme vile tunataka tufanye, tungeset hapo kwa SRC wakubali wapunguze mishahara yao. Atapewa mishahara mikubwa, wanakuwa wajinga, hata hakuna kazi wanajua kufanya. They only think of their stomachs only. Only. Yes.
Thank you, Samuel.
That is bribery actually.
Asante, Samuel.
Yeah.
Asante. Let's hear from Christian in Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good,
very
Christian.
well. Whether the MCAs deserve a car grant or not is debatable. But the president has no mandate to decide who gets a car grant or who doesn't. It amounts to abuse of power. He has no mandate. That is the mandate of SRC.
Yep.
If he can interfere with who gets a car grant or not, then it is an indictment to say that he also interferes who gets which tender or not.
Very interesting, Christian.
That is not his business. Whether SRC should decide, I don't know. It's not Sarah Serem nowadays. I don't know.
Mengich.
Yes, Mengich. Mengich should be the one who should decide who gets a car grant or not. Now, MCAs, perhaps, maybe they deserve a car grant. I don't, that is debatable. You cannot say that they don't
who appoints the boss of the Commission on Revenue Allocation?
Just because you appoint someone doesn't mean you do their job.
Okay, I see you have avoided answering my question, but in avoiding it, you've actually answered it. Thank you.
The SRC head and commissioners are competitively appointed through a competitive process, and then names are forwarded to the president for appointment.
And Uhuru Kenyatta, as president, has just through this process, he has just admitted that he interferes with government officials doing their work.
He who pays the piper.
He does not pay the.
We are the ones who pay the piper.
Really? Have you had this conversation with the piper to ask them who it is who pays them?
But we are the piper. Oh.
We are the piper. We are the ones who are supposed to call the tune.
And we are the payer. Christian, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Mombasa. In Mombasa is Peter Kazungu. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Salama.
No, I'm actually surprised that we are debating whether this is a bribe or not. Of course, it's a bribe. I mean, the president has no business interfering in the provisions of allowances and car grants and all that. That's the CRC. If he has such mandate, why hasn't he intervened in the health crisis? Why hasn't he called a press conference and said all the doctors are going to be given whatever they want? If he has such mandate, he should just let the commission do their work. This is a bribe.
Let me ask you, Peter. Let me ask you.
Yes.
When a presidential candidate goes around the country promising your children that they're going to get laptops, promising you that you're going to get this kind of project, is that a bribery for your vote?
Yes.
Or is that a promise?
That's usually a manifestation of their manifesto. They're trying to sell their manifestos. Whether you consider that a bribe or not, because you've not been given something yet, it cannot be a bribe. But once you elect them on the basis
Thank you so much. Have the MCAs received the money?
They have not. But
so how is it then a bribe? Going by your definition.
Because the president has no mandate to
make the promise.
He's already in power. He cannot be promising people things while he's already in power. It's so different from when you're campaigning for a political position or something of the sort.
Peter, are you suggesting that when you get to power, you stop campaigning?
You start implementing what you promised.
Okay. Let's hear from Anthony. Anthony.
Good morning, Spice FM.
Good morning. Listen to what the ODM leader said yesterday to the MCAs. Just listen.
Mimi nataka kuhakikisha hii Uhuru amesema na hatarudi nyuma. Na hiyo si hongo. If we can justify giving a car grant to the members of parliament, why not to the members of county assembly? So don't make passing the BBI conditional to the car grant. Car grant is coming.
Si hongo, Anthony. Anthony. We had Anthony on the line.
We'll have him again.
Oh, he's still there. Anthony, you're there. 25 minutes to 10 o'clock. This 0719-012-600. Is that promise that MCAs are going to receive the car grants that they've been pushing for so long, that now when you're having this BBI conversation, now that the BBI bill is going to be taken to the 47 counties, now that there's a push to have at least half of those 47 counties passing this BBI, and now there's a word of the MCAs getting a car grant, does that amount to bribery? That's the question we're asking. Let's see what's happening on the roads, and then we come back and pick your calls.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Traffic.
A little bit of traffic right to the CBD, and that's oncoming from Tomboya Street, and then also from Moy Avenue coming from Westlands. So that piles up just a little bit. It's not too crazy. We have seen most traffic on Mombasa Road easing off just some before you get to Bellevue and then out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabouts. Coming off of Thika Road at the Pangani Tunnel, you're going to get stuck a little bit at Ngara, but then you should be fine if you use Wangari Maathai. Okay, coming off Jogo Road as well to Landis and into the CBD, much better now, and it's moving quite smoothly. So we've gotten out of traffic hour, kind of. We'll see some for about an hour or so, but it should be all right until evening. You can still talk to us through the day. Spice FMKE on Twitter, text on 40127.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Okay, 23 minutes to 10 o'clock. Robert in Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I was saying
Yes.
that Raila has no audacity to talk about car grants. The same person. Hello?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The same person went to be treated last year in Dubai. So even he does not know about how doctors are suffering in Kenya. Because he already is paid by the state. He is not talking about doctors who we need doctors more. We need more teachers. He's only talking about MCAs. And let me ask you, can an MCA, is there any MCA who lacks a car in Kenya?
Oh, there are very many.
How? And they are paid all that amount of money.
Well, some of them may not consider a vehicle, a car, to be a priority, but there are many MCAs who don't have cars, actually.
But they have stayed without cars for the last 3 years. Now it's when the cars have become much important.
Well, look at it this way. Your question is a valid one, but if the offer for a car did not exist then and you had to buy it with your own money and now an offer has been made, if you are an MCA, would you decline the offer?
I can decline the offer because I can use that one for development. That money can be... Remember, this country is bankrupt. This country is bankrupt. So it is taxpayer money that is you're being given a grant. We're not going to return that car. So there's much important things for MCAs to do in their world.
So this is bribery, according to you, Robert.
That is bribery because I'm asking myself, it's when Guru has realized that MCAs don't have cars after 3 years. That's because he wants them to follow what he wants them to do.
Okay, we hear you. Thank you, Robert.
A bankrupt country cannot... This country is bankrupt. The money that we are using mostly is borrowed money. So how can you borrow money to buy for people cars and there are no doctors and teachers in schools and classrooms?
Thank you, Robert. Valid points. Asante sana. Kibet Sila says it's not about the action but the intention. And the intent smells like bribery from this side of Nairobi.
I think the thing is, the car is not the problem here. It's the suggested principle behind all of this. That this thing that you've been clamoring for all this time, which we actually refused to give you because there was not enough in terms of money, refused to give you previously. Suddenly now we can give it to you, and it's an implied condition that we will give it to you based on your ability to debate and pass this particular
All
thing.
right, let's
Had it not been dropped in that manner, then maybe it doesn't look as bad, but it looks terrible. Walks like a duck, talks like a duck.
It's goose.
Not a donkey.
It's a donkey.
And if I'm to go with the argument, let me take a little liberty with my thinking. If, say, the issue of the car grant had existed, let's say they had been given when they first started clamoring for it. So if I'm to go with the argument, so now what would be the logical thing for them to be offered since they would already have cars?
Why should they be offered something to debate something that you think it's fair across the board? If there was strength in this argument on this thing that you're debating, why do you have to put something on the table? If there is merit in what you're asking them to debate, why should you hang something for them to bite?
You walked right into that one.
Sorry. No. Why should there be a condition
I
for you to
actually walked
debate
into
something?
it deliberately because
the swimming pools.
There's a point I'm trying to raise here, and the point I'm trying to raise is this: we are having a moral discussion on a political process. Okay, or rather, we've raised the discussion to a moral process. Now, What is this moral principle that we want to subject our politicians to?
Use our money wisely.
What is it?
That's it.
Use the money wisely.
I am trying to tell
And
you.
it is, you don't even have the money.
No, but we have the money.
When they hold that Bible up there
and swear.
and they are reading by words that are written in the Constitution, the oath here is that you shall uphold.
And what makes you think that they don't believe in their hearts that they are upholding it? If you take the view that everything they do, they believe they're doing it on our behalf. Because after all, we have elected them to represent us. And so everything that you think, look, a political process, for it to continue, has to be oiled. Now, I'm talking about political process. I'm not talking about an ethical or yes. There are always negotiations. There's always a give and take. We may not like it. We may not think it's ethical. We may not think it's morally upright. But in a political setup, do we think, for instance, when voters are given money for whatever purpose, whether you think it's inducement, whatever you think, we usually say it is wrong. Do the people who are receiving the money think it is wrong? Now, if the persons that we're talking about are MCAs, I would very much like to hear what an MCA has to say about this matter, because they're the ones who've been promised. Do they believe, these are our representatives, remember, at a ward level, do they believe that what is happening is wrong, that it is wrong for them to be offered this?
They believe it's their right. They believe that they're entitled to it,
They
because they look
anyway.
at their MPs and they say, if MPs are entitled, our fellow legislators at the national level are getting this. Why not we who are legislators at the local level?
So then at which point do we decide that this thing is a bribe?
At the point that you tie it to them debating and passing this thing. That
Okay.
you tie it to that.
Okay.
If truly it is something that they deserve because of the level of legislation at which they serve, then you should not have refused it initially. And that's what I'm saying. But
Okay.
here the thing is that you have tied it to them debating and passing this thing. That if you really knew that they should deserve this thing, why was it not on offer and agreed and accepted previously?
Because there was no
Why
money.
must you...
From a political...
You people have been saying since that there's money. Leave that thing, I beg. Until now is now when you say suddenly there's money because you want them to debate
From
and
a
pass
political
this thing.
perspective, it would have been
not
foolhardy
agree.
to offer such a juicy carrot when you know full well you may need it for an occasion.
Bribery.
Last year,
inducement.
This country of ours went around the world campaigning for a slot at the UN Security Council. Do you think those people were just sitting there and not making promises here and there? So we are coming to this particular country and we want your vote. You think the word is, you know, us guys, we are very good people. Everybody will come and tell you they are good people. There must have been promises. How can we work together? So for us to give you this vote, what is it that we shall get when you have that seat in the Security Council? What is it that we can get trade-wise? There is all that horse trading that takes place, and it's a political.
Doesn't make it right.
You're asking a country that's going to vote at the UN Security Council to vote for you to be a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council.
Who says
there
the UN
will
is
be
squeaky clean?
conversations.
Who has ever
No, I'm
said
just
that?
giving you. It's global. Politically, this is what will happen. There will be. I don't like the fact that they are getting these 2 million shillings now. I don't like the fact that we don't even have. I don't even like the fact that we are going to a referendum. But that's besides the point. We're where we are. There's a political discussion and political negotiation happening. What do you do with a political negotiation?
It doesn't make it right. Just because it's happening doesn't make it right. Because it happens on a global scale. It's done all the time. And this is the
No, it's not
problem.
just done.
The problem
It's
is
accepted.
Just because something is accepted doesn't mean that it is all right.
No.
And that's the thing.
Right now-
So conditioned to the point whereby we say it's accepted. This is how things happen.
No, it's not conditioning. It's not
you see?
conditioning.
That is how things happen.
It's not
so
conditioning.
it should just be accepted. We know that this is what is going to happen.
It is the
So
nature
let's just
of the game.
It is the nature of the game.
Of a negotiation.
It doesn't mean
You're
that the
negotiating
game,
with your
what
child,
did Titi
you will
say?
make promises.
It doesn't
You're
mean-
negotiating with your parent, you will make promises. With your siblings, you're negotiating with us as your co-workers. There are some things that you are going to make promises for. You're not be bribing us if you're telling us, you know what, Eric, I'd like this and the other, and in exchange. That's not bribing. It's a negotiation.
It's bribing.
I am
It's
not
the
going
art
to
of
be. It's
negotiation.
not going to be possible for me to be at work next week. But my leave. I've finished all my leave days. Can you donate leave days?
Oh, stop it, CT. This is not the president saying, I'll give you one of my vehicles. It's using national money to give you something that will help you make a decision in my favor. Come on. I'm not lending you one of my cars.
That's what presidents can do, just so that you know.
Let's hear from Karanja in Naivasha. Karanja, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nyeri, Kisindi, and the madam there.
Thank you very much, sir. We are very well.
Yes, now, I have read a book, Yearning for Democracy.
Yes.
Sometimes back when I was in college, sometimes back,
Yeah.
And this is what we call the civil disobedience, where the reader dispenses national resources according to his desires. Now, number two, we have what we saw is we have involved a political culture where the readers, the organizers, the social element, prescribes the medicine and it proceeds to administer it. The reader is a condemner and the redeemer. All the institutions of the state dance in unison to the tune of the reader. So the thing is, the citizens are objects and mere bystanders in this game of silence, my friend. So we have nothing to do. So, for instance, if the president comes and visits Mount Kenya, he needs to praise the people who are living there, especially the readers. So, for instance, look how the presidents have done in terms of nominations through diplomacy. He takes somebody whom he or she knows he is on favor. He has the interest of that person. So if the president wants to go to, for instance, to Dubai or maybe USA, and you know Karaja is in USA, he's a ambassador there. He does not want to know anything. So he tell me go there,
you go
do this
there.
and that. I'm coming. Yes.
So this is not bribery according to you, Karanja.
This is bribery, my friend. This is civil disobedience, my friend.
Okay. I get you. Thank you,
civil
Karanja.
disobedience. Tell Cindy to run the book, Yearning for Democracy.
I will. Let me write down Yearning for Democracy. But while we're at it, did you ever come across this book? It's something that people read in the days in college. Frantz Fanon's book, The Wretched of the Earth.
Yes, I know. This book was written by S. Wajara S.K. Akavanga.
Aha.
He's the current governor. And he's the current governor in Makueni. Kivuva Kibwana, my friend. Including smoking Wanjara.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Karanja.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So is this bribery or is this not? No, that's not about. Let's talk to a member of the county assembly. From Kiambu County, the MCA for Ndenderu Ward, Solomon Kinothia is on the line. Solomon, good morning.
Good morning to Eric.
How are you? Welcome to the Situation Room. Good to have you again.
Thanks for having me. I'm doing fine.
Now, Solo.
Yes.
You're about to get some 2 million shillings car grant.
Yes.
And this is not conditional. Whether you vote for BBI, you don't vote for BBI, that is not the point.
Yes.
Is this a bribe?
I don't know how much time we have, Eric, for me to put it in the right context. But it's good to go back on record and appreciate that in 2014, the County Assembly Forum put a list of demands.
Yep.
Or rather proposals to the executive then, as a way of strengthening the oversight function and the legislative function of the county assembly. Among them was recognition and entrenchment in the constitution for county assembly forum. Same way we have there's the National Assembly and the Senate caucuses. And the same way the Council of Governors is entrenched in the constitution and funded from the public purse. Then we also requested then, although I was not a member of the County Assembly then, there was a request by the County Assembly Forum that the benefit accruing to members of the National Assembly and the Senate should as well accrue the members of the county assemblies, because constitutionally the functions are the same. So the car grant was a part of the bargain then, and because we've not engaged the head of state since then physically.
Yep.
The matter came up when the head of state came lobbying for the BBI
support
with the for the support for BBI from the members of the county assembly. And the president acceded to the request and formed a cabinet committee to actualize that request. So it's not something that we started pushing for now. It's just an issue of a continuing.
Okay, but Solo, why this
to
one?
have
Why
a rationalization?
Why not everything else in the list of demands in 2014? Why not this one?
Yes,
that is one. Secondly, and there are people who have called here and said the president has absolutely no mandate here. There is a commission that is entrenched in the constitution whose job it is to look at such matters.
I agree entirely, but we gave a raft in Sagana. We gave a raft of demands, and the one that he said was practical is the car grant here and now. But there are long-term demands that were given in 2014 to facilitate strengthening of the assemblies that he said would be looked into in the subsequent assemblies.
Okay, so you're saying as you go ahead to debate and make these decisions, this car grant then that has been promised is not going to play in any way when it comes to the debate that is going ahead?
BBI, the document as it is long overdue, and it's good. The merits, with or without the car, are good for the country. Yeah, so
thank you, sir.
it's just that
You
are
put it so well.
The chuckle that came after that covered everything very nicely, Solo, I must say.
I like the way you've put it. Thank you. You've clarified it.
Yeah, thank you, and I'll look forward to another engagement with you soon.
We
on
do
these
also
issues,
look forward,
especially on the document.
On the document.
On the document
merits
itself.
of the document. Yes.
Sawa. Thank you very much, Solomon
Asante
Kinavia,
sana.
MCA in the Nyeri ward in Kiambu County. What do you think? What are people saying on social media?
Oh my God, a lot. Okay, so where do we start from? I think that, so Moses Iriyuki says the car grant is a bribe. It's a condition to pass the BBI. Second, they asked for it before and they were told there is no money. Where is the money now? Pass BBI and I will give you a car. The president is the boss of the SRC. Okay. What's there to debate now? That's pure bribery. This is manipulation of the decision. If they were to be given the car, that should have been done a long time ago, not now that they want them to pass the BBI. Kibet Kip Kosgei says it is a bribe. BBI is an underworld document being given by secret society members.
I'm surprised.
Wait. I've not finished.
Okay, carry on.
Who can go to extreme miles to deliver. It is a meticulous arrangement that needs powerful people in the government to deliver. It's not a coincidence that Uhuru and Raila support car grants. It's a unanimous subject. Reject BBI, Kenyans open your eyes and ears. Secrecy in details and I will give you one. Huduma and COVID vaccine that we haven't tested, but we just want to rely on the World Health Organization. Okay.
Hey.
So there's a lot here. This is a lot of conspiracy.
Secret society.
Eliezer Kiplimo says, this car grant is daylight bribery. The MCAs should not be entitled to car grants because their area of legislation is small compared to that of MPs. Even if they pass the BBI,
So they should get what?
Bicycle
Border
grants.
grants.
Yeah. SRC won't grant them because our wage bill is already up. Sharage says, the MCAs are being bribed. Why now? During BBI? That's the time they notice they push for the grants. Really? That's just bribery with ice cream. Wanjiko says, just because they haven't received it doesn't mean it's not a bribe. The definition of a bribe is to dishonestly persuade someone to act in one's favor by a gift of money or other inducement. There's a lot more that's being said.
But Solo has told us, given us even the context, okay? The county assembly 2014 came and had a raft of, there are things that they felt as MCAs, our name Mheshimiwa is being written in small letters.
We want it in capital.
And we know capital letters
need
exist.
it to be capital M.
And we also know the color red exists.
Yes. And our card should be embossed. So, demand number one, first of all, let's entrench the county assemblies forum so that it's recognized and it gets money from the national coffers to run its operations. Number two, number three, number four, just the same way members of the National Assembly and the Senate are getting car grants, we also need the same. Why? To facilitate our movement within our wards and to meet our constituents and to talk to our people and to travel from the ward to the county headquarters. Remember, it's not just for this. When a county assembly is meeting, let's say the county assembly of Kajiado, they meet in Kajiado. People come from Magadi, there's an MCA. All the way in Tarara, in Loitoktok, Kajiado South, there's an MCA. There's one in Kitengela. Those are going all to Kajiado. So how do you expect this guy from Magadi is going to travel?
Or people think that these things are just 1 kilometer apart.
See, this thing we're talking about is not whether they need the car or not. That's not the point.
So that's what they were putting forth in that time.
There is
when they had this
linkage
conversation
between them getting this vehicle and them debating the BBI for it to get a favorable response. That is the problem.
This is where now we come in. This is where, so you get your opportunity to have audience of the head of government. Okay,
they told you
something you don't always do.
You don't always do. So you get your opportunity to negotiate. What do? You go with your leverage.
When you were negotiating
I have
before,
the vote that you need.
Were refused.
You have the needs that I need to be met.
They were refused before.
Yes.
And you, Ndu, have refused to see what we're trying to tell you.
Oh, yeah, thoroughly. I'm not even going to deny. Because let's just call it what it is.
Look, is it possible that our minds are so focused on the wrongs that we see in this country that when a straightforward issue of a promise being fulfilled is in play, we have to give it the most negative understanding?
It is also possible that such things that happen so terribly in this country have continued to continue in this manner that you can't see it for what it really is. The other side also is possible.
Really?
That things have really gone so south that even when something is glaring at you, that it is clear that it is not right, that it has happened so much that you say, okay, well, that's just the way things are done.
This is happening for the first time, this one.
The same manner. The same manner. It's the same manner. It's the same idea.
Okay.
That's something that people would have needed. You don't give it to them. They don't at that point. But then you choose to give it to them when it's hanging on a condition.
So when we have this lovely road, this bypass thing above the whatever that we're building here, so how is that a bribe?
Oh, stop it, CT. How is that a bribe too? Bite your tongue real fast. My goodness.
No. Always remember, when you have leverage, use it to negotiate.
Bribe.
When you have leverage, use it to negotiate. That is basic, simple, how we live.
How it's done doesn't mean it's right.
Life is a negotiation every day.
No.
It is a negotiation every day.
Ndo, maybe you're not here. There was a team called the Dream Team. Government officials, head of civil service, leaky. The noise that was made about the salaries these people were being paid, and you know why? To insulate them from corruption. But yes, huge salaries. By the standards then, it was huge.
How well did that turn out?
Anyway, coming to the end of the show. Point made. City, change the music.
Let me change the tune. When the music changes, so does the dance. When it's MCAs being offered what they should get, it is now bribery. When actually...
You wouldn't have the last word on this one, no. Omo daddy. Leave it to... sorry.
Thank you for tuning into the Situation Room today. See you again tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Cindy Muga, Nduoko, and Eric Latif saying goodbye to you. You have uninterrupted music between now and 3 o'clock. And then you have Monique coming to take you home at 3 and the adults in the room later on. Have a lovely day.